So, everybody, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream. Would you like the cool intro? We got our we got our super cool intro video going.
Yes.
I'm here with Dan
Hey.
and I'm Dave. And thanks for coming to watch us talk and I'm going to doodle some stuff. So yeah, let's do that. And if you have any
Let's do
questions or
that.
anything, feel free to ask in the chat and we'll get to them.
Oh, and let me know if I should shut my window. I never know if it's like insanely loud or not.
Well, I can't hear anything yet.
Okay. Someone just started mowing their lawn, and I went, Oh, never
Well,
mind. You
it's
got
okay.
semis going by. You're good. I can hear your end.
Yeah, I got like trucks
Yeah, we're
going by in the
fine.
background.
So if anyone's familiar with our ongoing Amazon saga, I just got another email, so forgive me while I'm silent, and I respond to this.
I'll tell them stuff.
Do you want to know the details of it live, Dave, so I can respond?
Yes.
They're saying backers might get the book faster if we do reroute it. This is the guy personally managing our case now. He said, actually, looking at the details, your backers might get the books faster if we do reroute it to South Carolina. Do you want me to do that or keep it in Indianapolis? Should I
What?
just say Indianapolis?
We should ask him what the difference is in time.
Okay. Hey, Matt. Hello there, Matt! Exclamation point. Thanks so much for the follow-up. That's interesting. Period.
That's
I thought
interesting.
we had settled this for IND4, but if it is, in fact, faster to send it to CAE1, could you let me know? Parentheses, estimate is fine. Ha ha. Parentheses. What the time difference might be between the two locations. If it could be expedited once it's through IND4, that might end up being fine. Still curious though. Thanks again.
So, for everybody who has just started watching this stream, or you don't know anything about the Steve Lichman book saga, we've basically had a ton of issues with Amazon sending our books all around the world, which they're supposed to be our distributor. They fulfill all the orders from Kickstarter, but we've had so many problems with them. If you follow us on Twitter or Facebook, you might have seen that they first got sent to a shoe facility, which
Yes.
was what they did on there, and they said, hey, take these books and send them to our closest shoe facility where we don't fulfill books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then they get there, they reject the truck because it's a shoe place, not a book place. And then they say, "Oh, you know what? Bring it back to the shoe place because we can actually just have the shoe place send it to a different place for us." And I go, "Okay." And then they email me and go, "On second thought, you should send it to South Carolina." And I go, "That's pretty far. Anything closer?" And they go, "Oh yeah, sure, send it to Nashville." And I say, "Okay, cool, confirming for Nashville." Then I get an email confirmation that night that says, "Hey, we're just following up. We've confirmed everything to reroute your stuff to South Carolina." And then I called them and I go, "You said Nashville." And they said, "No, we said South Carolina." And I said, "You said Nashville." And then they went, "Oh, we did say Nashville." And I said, "So is it Nashville or South Carolina?" They said, "We'll call you tomorrow."
It's so insane, but
So then today, I went
yeah.
through 3 hours of phone calls figuring out Nashville or South Carolina, and then at the end of it, I finally got a human, who's this guy Matt I just emailed, who, thank God, Matt, if you ever listen to this by some stroke of luck, thank you so much for taking responsibility. But it ends up they're going to stay in Indianapolis. So A goes to B, B ends up being C, but then they say don't go to C, go back to B, but then B is C again, and then I confirm and they say, oh, actually, no, C is B, and then they go, you know what, just stay in A. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, so what happens is if you guys are at all interested in making books and basically being a self-publisher that doesn't handle, like, wait, not doesn't handle, but has to handle everything
Mm-hmm.
in terms of distribution outside of like everything that happens at the facility where they physically send it, everything leading up to that, you're gonna have to basically like deal with so many little steps and so many things can go wrong. And
Right.
as much as you try to be on top of everything and to be the best and to like nail every single thing they ask you for and do it all on time, you're
Hmm.
still giving it up to people who frankly really don't care that much.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like Irank was saying in the chat, it's pretty fun. You're so transparent about all this. Yeah, I mean, why not be transparent? The thing I hate the most about Kickstarters that get funded and then drop off the map is like people, if something happens that goes wrong, people generally don't care if you're honest about it on day one. People only get mad if you cover stuff up, like cover things up, lie, delay things, or if you just don't respect them and you're silent. Like,
Yeah.
just like I think this is funny. The stuff with Amazon, yeah, it's stressful and it's been stressing us out like crazy, and getting it managed has been like a nightmare, but talking about it is funny because it is ridiculous. So like why not just talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're just like all of you. It's like we're dealing with things for the first time ever like this. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think it's hard to put yourself in our shoes and be like, yeah, that would suck ass.
Plus, we had heard someone talking about it the way we're talking about it before. We would have been ready for this and known how to
Right.
maybe get around it. So maybe by us doing it, we can help some of you. So like talking about stuff is only positive. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
this whole thing has been a big learning experience. And McLean Kendry, hey man,
hey,
asks, hey guys, knowing what you know now, would you use this Amazon service again, like despite all these hiccups?
well, I learned today that we have something called a caseworker with Amazon, which they didn't tell me till now. It took them this long to let me know that we should have an individual working on the case, which, a month into this process, I had no idea the whole time. No one ever told me that. So knowing that now, yeah, I probably would use them again because despite all the hiccups, they are the cheapest option, like by far.
Yeah, even with everything coming out to like more money as far as the international shipping goes, if you saw any of that update where we talked about how the shipping jumped from what we thought it was all the way up to $18 per
Mm.
book, and we were like, "Holy crap, this is crazy!" Because we had a quote already from them, and then it jumped up
Yeah.
like 500% or whatever. So then we
And
had to
before
basically pay out of pocket for everything.
Yeah, and before people say, well, it was a quote, hold them accountable. We call it a quote because that's what it is, but it's Amazon repeating a price from a call center, and like the price was correct if we were listing the book on Amazon's website. The fact that we're not listing it on their website, which means Amazon doesn't get 30% of our sales, means that we have to pay a higher rate of shipping as a result. So it was just confusion basically, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they didn't understand what we were doing
right.
repeatedly. But yeah, I mean, all that being said, it's still cheaper than doing it yourself by a huge margin, and it's also cheaper than a lot of the other fulfillment houses because it is Amazon.
Yep.
And it's also, they have a better guarantee. Like, if some of the books go missing, they can refund us. And that's a huge deal. And
Yes.
they use carriers. Well, one of the cool things is that we can't say this 100% for sure yet, but what they're doing to make it right, what they've said anyway, we can't say this is absolute, but what they said to make it right was that they will hopefully be able to expedite all of the packages out to everybody who bought one.
Yes.
So it should
Again,
cut time down by a little bit.
that isn't totally set in stone, but it is an
Yeah.
offer that was on the table when I talked to them earlier today that once they do get to Amazon's facility, probably early next week, they might be able to provide 1 to 2 day shipping for it to make up for the problem,
Yeah. And
which
we're
is great.
hoping that once they actually give us that information that I mean it should cover international because that would be crazy if they made some distinction there because it is their fault entirely. They've already admitted that.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of surprises popped up. Do you guys talk to other people who do Kickstarter self-publish? I talk to a ton. I've worked on 11 Kickstarters, the 11th being our own. So like I'm pretty familiar with the hiccups. The only thing I wasn't sure about going into this was Amazon because no one I knew had ever used Amazon. So this is all new. The rest of the Kickstarter stuff I was pretty familiar with. Shoe Thief, if you guys are trying to publish a book too and you have any questions when you go to kickstart it, reach out to me because I'd be happy to help because I've seen you around for a long time and yeah, there's so much stuff people don't tell you going into this that if you have any questions, be happy to help you.
Yeah, it is strange how much kind of like silence there is on stuff like this as far as publishing your own stuff. Like, you would think
Yeah,
that there'd be resources out there that were pretty reliable, like people that have been through this and then been like, you know what, let's put it out there, but not really.
yeah, there's not a ton. There's a few, but there's not. It's not easy to find. You painting Brendan?
Yeah, this is the mummy character from Steve Lichman.
So anyway, if anyone's new here or if you're coming back, thanks for watching. Me and Dave will answer any questions in the chat, so feel free to ask anything. We're pretty open about stuff. Dave's gonna be doing a painting. I'm gonna field the chat, and if you didn't know if any artist people are watching or if you just want something to listen to, there's a graphic in the top corner and down in the info. Dave just put out a 5-hour tutorial on a traditional painting he did called Eyeball
Yeah.
Night. It's only $5 for 5 hours of tutorial, so I mean, it's a good deal.
Yeah, I do in the tutorial. If you go below the video, there should be a link down there. Um, and you can just click that and it goes over to the shop. But yeah, $5. Um, $5, just helps support me. We're just trying to stay independent, and
Right.
things like that help. We'll try and make more videos of like long form things that will help with like other stuff like freelancing or making your own stuff. We want to maintain that kind of thing. We want to put out information that's relatively cheap so that if you're getting started that you can get into this. And the eyeball night is just my approach of sketching around using markers and inks, and it's a kind of an affordable way to get started doing some traditional work that looks pretty finished. And yeah, I wanted to make a tutorial about my process. So 5 hours, full commentary. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or on my art page, or it's easier for me on Twitter at Dave Rapoza. And if you do buy it and you do something from the tutorial, please tag me in it. You can send it to me on Twitter or you can tag me on Instagram. They're both at Dave Rapoza. So
Hey, Concept Sam in the chat. I talked to him briefly on YouTube on one of the archives the other day. He did some work with Laserhawk. What's up, Concept?
oh, cool.
Or I guess I should say, what's up, Sam? Good to see you.
Yeah, to
We
everybody who
can't talk about
purchased
what he
one of
did with
those
them,
tutorials, thank you so much, by the way. I really appreciate the support.
Beard asks, "Hey Dave, if I were theoretically so cheap that I could only buy one of your Gumroad videos, which would you suggest?"
Um,
And he's a digital artist.
digital artist. I guess I would get the Bogwitch Part 2, but it depends on what you want to do. They're both five. Every tutorial I put up is $5, and they're all over 5 hours. Uh, the latest one, if you want to do traditional stuff, that's cool. Like, I would get that for kind of like if you want to play around, you want to learn that, you've ever been thinking about it, then I would say get that if you're interested in it. Or if you want to like kind of like think about a different way of approaching your digital work. Because what I cover a lot in the video is that you should supplement your digital work with traditional just because it helps you with patience. It helps you with like kind of getting back to the fundamentals. Like you don't have a lot of room to fail in it, and when you do fail, you kind of have to roll with it. So I kind of want to emphasize the whole like devote, like when you start a image and you're getting into it, that you're all in, and that you're always kind of being deliberate with your mark making, and you're focusing on like executing an idea, and you're not always going back, you're not noodling around zooming in on tiny details, you're always doing like kind of big picture stuff, and you're just in it more. You have like a ton of room for failure, so it's like you're kind of at a different level of focus. And in the Bogwitch one, that one is more just my straight digital approach for concept making. But yeah, that one's more of like my character to character kind of approach with a lot of other stuff mixed in. But yeah.
If I miss questions, guys, feel free to repost them. I might miss some because we tend to answer long and try to cover everything. Uh, what would you suggest to someone just starting out freelance slash building their own portfolio who wants to pursue their own personal IP? Would you guys say it's easier if you have more clout? I mean, by definition, the more people you have following you or interested in you when you launch your IP, I don't know if you're going to crowdfund it or just self-fund it. That's one thing to consider. If you are going to try to crowdfund it, the more people you have aware of you, the better you're going to be able to do. That's just like a simple math equation, basically. There's things you can do to get more people to see it that aren't necessarily following you through promotion and getting shown on, showcased on Kickstarter and stuff like that as like a project we love. But in general, the more people you have aware of you, the better you're going to do. Now, starting out in terms of building a portfolio, in terms of you want to do a personal IP someday, you might want to tailor the portfolio either towards jobs that are similar to the IP you want to get going. So, like, let's say you want to make a game, you might want to work on games so that when you start your own thing, people go, "Oh, I love the games that guy worked on. Now he's doing his own thing. That's cool." Another thing you might want to consider is throwing in some pieces that aren't necessarily for jobs that are either fan art or something tailoring the kind of community that your IP is going to get into. If you're going to do comics, getting known as a person who paints comic stuff would probably be beneficial. It would probably pave the way for more comics fans to get on board, know who you are, and then fund your thing down the line because they're already comics fans. So those are just some like basic starter tips.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of it though is that like even after you have that audience from something else, I mean, we've said this before on here, but when we did Steve Lichman, I mean, like, I'm not going to say nobody because tons of people supported us from the community, but overwhelmingly, the people who supported us were people who had only seen Steve from us, and they only kind of came to us because of the property in and of itself, because the comics were online without us. Like they weren't really featured on like our sites or anything on our Facebooks. Like they were on Imager and Reddit, and they were on Funny Junk and Tapastic, all these other sites that were tailored to comics. So, I mean, as much as you can say that like it's nice to build up like a following ahead of time, in reality, like that will impact it, but it won't be very much. Most of the people that are going to come to like your thing and support it are going to come from having seen it and to some extent and having like support from other places. Like our biggest numbers came from being featured on like Kotaku. So if you do
Yeah.
something in IO9, so if you do something that's like a comic or whatever, like I would suggest that you email editors of a bunch of different blogs from all over the internet that are popular and say like, is this something you'd be interested in? Do some research and figure out who likes the thing I'm doing, who likes stuff like this, and find all of those people and ask them if they'd be willing to share it and, you know, suggest people come over to your Kickstarter, you know what I mean, like when the time comes.
Right. Dan, you were mentioning your miniature job last time. Would you mind talking about what kind of work that was exactly and what it pays? Thanks for streaming again. Yeah, basically miniatures, what I do, there's two kinds of work. There's designing things from the ground up and there's edits. Designing things from the ground up is pretty self-explanatory. They need concept art of a character or a monster to then give to a sculptor to turn into a statue that they can either 3D print or sculpt with actual clay to create a miniature for their miniature game. So like recently I've been doing a Greek expansion for them where I'm doing like living bronze statues like Talos from Jason and the Argonauts. So I did a whole army of basically living Greek statues and I just paint them as concept art and I do, a quick sketch of what they look like from behind and a fully rendered version of the front. They give it to a sculptor, he makes a model. Those pay about 300 USD per piece. So that's I don't know if that's not comparable to the entire miniature industry. Every company is very different. Some pay way more than that, some pay way less than that. I'm kind of in the middle, but it's regular work, so it ends up being fine. The other thing is edits, which I didn't know was a thing until I got into doing miniatures regularly, which is where they give me a painting for a sculpt that somebody else did, and then I have to edit it because it's cheaper for them to do a variant of a statue they already have than it is to do a new statue from the ground up. So an example of this would be we have 5 knights that are in a unit. Get rid of their swords and shields and turn them into bowmen. Make them firing bows and arrows. The only things you can change are the arms and the weapon. The rest of the body has to stay the same. So what's fun about that is I have to take the pose that's there and find a way for them to naturally hold the new weapon and not look awkward. So it's a really cool exercise in, like, creative thinking about how to take something and make it something else and have it look that it was intended to be that second thing in the first place. The other version of that pays a little bit more is when they don't have the concept art, they just have the statue, and they take a high resolution photo of the statue, and they'll say, like, oh, it's like a giant swinging a hammer. We want it to be him swinging an uprooted tree, and can you give him a helmet? I then have to paint over the statue and make the values match the statue, so it looks like you're looking at a photograph of a statue of the thing that doesn't exist yet. Those are a lot harder, but that's also a lot of fun because it's a different kind of rendering. So,
Wait a second, Dan.
yeah.
I mean, I'm all on board. That's really helpful advice. I really like it. Like, that helps a lot of people. But I just want to let you know, Will Notice is in the chat, and he says, so I just finished work. I'm a little high. How's everyone doing? That's badass, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for mentioning it.
Thank you, man.
I was wondering, I was like, is Will high?
Will's high. Will's always high.
Hey, everybody, Will's high. You just got off work. Am I freaking you out, Will, because I'm focusing on you?
Last part of
I
that
saw you at work, Will.
I want to answer the question completely. Last part of that question. The edits pay about, in general, 100 per. I usually do, if I have to do edits, I'll do 5 to 10 a day, so it ends up being a pretty good paycheck. Yeah, miniatures work is interesting. If you have any other questions about it, just because I don't want to dominate the chat with it, just reach out to me on Facebook. I can talk about that in detail with you. Happy to do it. But yeah. Again, if I miss questions, I'm drinking tons of coffee, talking 50 million miles a minute. So just repeat them and I'll find them.
Hey, Will, I'm coming after you. Know where you can hide, Will. Eat you alive, dude.
Whoa. Oh my god. Classic. I love the chat delay, because you brought up Will like a couple minutes ago for me, and now the chat is suddenly hearing it.
Yeah.
I love the chat delay. I'm trying to go back and look at questions. Dave, how's the eyeball night doing on day one? Love your gum roads. Also, thank you for being very generous.
The eyeball night is doing pretty good. I haven't checked it in a bit, but I think last night I saw that it sold like 300 something. So that was really good. I mean, I'm glad people like it. I'm getting a lot of messages about it, and I've already seen some artwork people have done. And
oh, really? People are already using it?
Yeah, people are already using it with what they have.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so there's actually a really cool one. If you go to my Twitter, I shared, I don't remember the name, I'm sorry, but I shared somebody's message from their Instagram where they did this really cool concept of like a guy who is also like, he's like made of roots, he's like a tree, but he has like a sword and a bunch of other stuff. It's a really cool concept, and it's in that kind of style, and I was like, oh, that's actually like a really awesome use.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah, people are sending stuff. It's really cool.
It's always cool to see people use gum roads, because so many people just buy them and forget they have them.
Well, that's a part of the tutorial. I talk about all of that stuff. Cool. Like, I just say, like, if you have anything at all, like, that you can start with, to just start. Yeah. And by the way, let's update all of you on the Aiden saga.
Well, first off, before Aiden, because we're going to keep talking about it, I haven't watched Dave's tutorial yet, because literally for the past 24 hours I've been on phone calls with Amazon. So
yeah, Dan hasn't
take everything I say on faith.
I put a lot into the tutorials. I'll never half-ass something like that. So I recorded like 5 hours of straight audio, and I tried to make it actually interesting. Steven Sketches, you're the one who did it. That was a really cool concept. I didn't want you to think I was just blowing smoke up your ass on Twitter. I really did like it.
Cool. I want to go look at it.
Yeah, go check it out. Just go to my Twitter. I shared it.
Yeah, I want to see.
So, Aiden update. Aiden watch. Ooh, fuck Aiden.
Aiden watch.
If you don't know, Aiden is a 13-year-old boy, or maybe 12, maybe 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know how old he is, but he
Yes.
lives downstairs, and he plays Call of Duty. He plays what is it, Battlefront, the new Star Wars. Because I've heard
Yes.
him go, "Fuck you, Darth Vader."
Oh
But
no.
anyway, he screams at the top of his lungs while he plays video games. Nothing really has
Whoa.
happened. He's just as cool as he's always been. Love to Aiden. Aiden, if you're listening to this, you my boy. Aiden's the fucking worst.
I love
Dan
the
just dropped the Instagram link in the chat.
That's a really cool concept. I love the mushrooms on like the shield arm. That's really cool. Really cool colors for like a tree, dude. People usually make them really monochromatic. I like that you got all the weird like blues and oranges in there. That's really cool.
Steven says, "Thanks, Dave. Means a lot. I always assume people are blowing smoke right up the old ass." Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
right up
That's
that
how
ass.
I feel all the time. People always blow smoke up my ass. And I hold it in my ass for as long as I can so I get the full high. I blow it all out.
Last time you guys mentioned a Steve Lichman video game. Have you considered contacting Edmund McMillan? I imagine since Dave did that Super Meat Boy fan art for him, he'd be willing and able to help. Yeah, maybe someday. I'd love to reach out and talk to him sometime.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that like they're so busy doing their own stuff. You know,
Yeah,
they're like us. Like we wouldn't take on other stuff, you know? Like we want to do our own thing.
right.
Uh, if we ever do a Steve Lichman kind of game, we'll definitely have to find the right people for it, but I know
I
that
wouldn't
they're
mind
like
like
pretty independent.
I wouldn't mind getting him on here just to like have a talk sometime. I want to get
Yeah.
more people to come on and just hang out. We might reach out to him to do that actually. You guys saved my night, by the way. My neighbors turned into a stampeding horde of animals 3 hours ago, and without this stream, I'd still be angrily staring at the ceiling half asleep. Aiden is nothing against that. Yeah, but imagine a room full of multiple Aidens. Like, what if Aiden multiplies?
Look, I'm not saying this is a competition, but y'all don't know Aiden.
I've witnessed Aiden firsthand.
Yeah, let's say they stampede once in a while. Aiden is an everyday thing, all day, every day,
Right,
constantly. You've never heard somebody scream like this. I'm
right.
assuming he has problems, so you don't want to totally ruin this kid's life. Except I do. I want to kill him. I want to kill Aiden.
It's like the difference between thunder and lightning every day and one day where a tornado comes through.
Yeah.
Which one's really worse when you think
Yeah.
about it?
I mean, I guess it depends on how many people the tornado kills.
That is true. I slept through a tornado like 2 years ago. It was a good time. Went
I've only
outside and
experienced an earthquake.
went outside and all of Main Street over in Winthrop, Massachusetts was destroyed. Let's see. Hey guys, was curious if either of you would still have pursued a career in art if you didn't meet when you were kids. Seems like you guys' friendship is what led you guys to this point. Actually, it's the flip of that. The reason me and Dave became friends is because we were both independently art people that were like drawing all the time and doing Final Fantasy fan art.
Yeah, because otherwise I would have never been friends with him.
Yeah, I know. You kidding me? We actually, Dave hated me before we realized we both did art and started drawing together because I hung out with the kid who got in the nunchuck fight from the story last time. And Dave was like, "Why do you hang out with that kid? He's the worst." And I went, "Because no one else will hang out with me, man. I don't know what to tell you." And then, yeah, we just started drawing and started working on our first comic, which is dope, dope, dope. I've got all the artwork for it right here in a binder.
Yeah, we ought to show that one day.
Yeah. Our first comic we started making when we were 15 still has no name.
But it has our own original character, the Red Baron.
The Red Baron,
And
user of the Soul Engine, which amplifies his chi and lets him power his mech.
yeah, so very anime, very high school story. We did it.
Yes. Yeah, it's all there. We had a whole world. We had 4,000 years of recorded history. We did all the things that you should do second first.
That's right. We did all of the dumb stuff
All
and
the
none
lore.
of the stuff that mattered.
So much lore.
We were straight up lore heads back then.
Dan, not sure if you already told the full tale of your adventures in art theft and fan art copyrights. Would like to hear about it. I'm not sure if, let's see, the fan art copyright stuff is Dave's had run-ins with that. I had run-in with straight up art theft where they took an original thing and used it. Dave had fan art theft.
You ought to do
So
that. You ought to just tell like at least a loose version of that story.
that story would take way too long to tell. I could do that.
Bullet
Like that would
point
take
it
at
though.
least, yeah, that would take at least an hour to tell the whole thing. I'll bullet point it. Did a piece for a client where they wanted their family's coat of arms. It was an original that I designed. Did it in high res. I usually put everything online in high res because I like it better that way because people can see it and it's better in a portfolio. Downside is stuff gets stolen, so I maintain the rights to the image, which I usually put in my contract. And then someone on DeviantArt reached out to me with a private message and said, "Hey, did you license your thing? Because I'm in a vape store in California, and I saw this on the wall." And it was a photo he had taken of him holding a bottle that had my design on it, with some very small, like graphic design changes because the high resolution image wouldn't scale down to a logo, so they had to simplify it. But it was the same tracing of the image, all the same lines, and basically just like a vectored version of my art. And I went, holy shit, somebody stole my stuff. And they like branded an entire product line with it. Basically, reached out to them, hired a lawyer, sent them a cease and desist, was going to sue them. My lawyer told me I could get around 25,000 in damages based on what it looked like. But then what happened was we got to a stalemate. They basically said if I took them to court, they would shut down the company. And because it's an LLC, I wouldn't be able to pursue the people in charge of the company privately to get back the losses. I would have just thrown $10,000 into a lawsuit hole that I would never be able to recoup. So what ended up happening was I just kind of stopped pursuing it. The only thing that came of it is that they ended the product line. They no longer used the image on anything because clearly they were at fault. So I got them to stop using it, but I didn't get any money in damages because to get the money in damages, I would have had to basically bet $10,000, and then all probability, according to my lawyers, was that they would have just folded the company and I would have been out $10,000. So that was my experience with art theft. I know how the system works now. Dave had fan art theft. Do you want to talk about the Masters of the Universe thing?
Well, I had my it's my painting in and of itself, like it's my little whatever. But like I did some fan art of Skeletor, and I know what everybody says about fan art. I've heard it a billion times where they say like, "Ah, oh, what'd you expect?" Blah blah blah. But here's the thing about that. Let's say you want to go work at, I don't know, Blizzard, and you do a portfolio, and in it you paint Warcraft stuff, and then like direct characters and things like that, and then they don't hire you. That doesn't then mean that they can take your work and put it on all their products.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, you also don't have a ton of rights with that image, so it's a weird area. Uh, so when that happened, it got put on the Masters of the Universe Blu-ray that released overseas in Sweden, I think, something like
Right.
that. And it was in the I can't remember, but it got printed on the DVD for like the Blu-ray release of Masters of the Universe, and I just was like, I knew nothing would happen from it. I knew nothing could really happen. So I just was like, this is kind of crazy and stupid. So I put it up online and it like exploded. It got on IGN. It got on like the front page of Imager, and it was on Reddit and like all over the place. I didn't think that would happen. I just wanted
No.
to show what happens when you do fan art. Like, of course it was stupid, but I was like I wasn't saying that I could legally get away with like getting them in trouble necessarily. I was more saying that like anything
You're
else,
just,
I could
yeah.
have had that license to people who do own the Masters of the Universe thing. That's what you can do with fan art. You can do fan art, and then like let's say they are putting out the Blu-ray. They can contact me and say we want to use this for the Masters of the Universe thing, and then they pay me as if I did it directly for them. It's the same
Right.
difference as if they came to me and said we need a painting for the new Masters of the Universe Blu-ray, and they pay me a rate. They would pay me that rate to license it on the DV on the Blu-ray cover. You can
It's
do
crazy.
that.
It's crazy because like you would have been able to sue them if they were in the United States.
Yeah, but it's the funny thing is like nobody actually knows. anything about the law, but they all make believe they do.
Yeah,
So that when you
everyone.
say
Yeah.
stuff about it, they go, "What'd you expect? It's fan art," and it's like, well,
Well,
no,
that's the thing is they called you
no.
a bunch of people got mad and called you a hypocrite because they said you were making your living off doing fan art of copyrighted stuff that you don't own. But the thing is that doing fan art, you own the fan art. You might not be able to sell it, but it's your intellectual property because that piece of art, not the character, the piece of art that you made, you own. That is the law. A company can't take it and do whatever they want with it the same way you can't take the character and do whatever you want with the character. It's basically a standoff. You can do this and they can do that, and neither of you can interrupt over that line. But like the amount of people that just wanted to be mad and think that artists don't have any rights and fan art's trash and you deserve this and you had it coming, it's like nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about. If that had been in the United States, you could have sued that company for a ton of money because they took your work and used it, and people don't understand that you would have been within your rights to do so.
Yeah, they want to say like it's wrong, and I just keep looking at them. I'm like, what do you mean it's wrong? Like people do fan stuff all the time. Like you can't sue, like you can't use cosplayers' images illegally. You just can't. You
Right.
can't do stuff like that. Like it's still their thing. They still made it. It's like, and they can be, and a cosplayer can get good at doing cosplay, get to the point where they're famous, and then be hired by companies to do cosplay. The
Hmm.
same thing I do. I do fan art. I do that fan art enough, and I go from doing the Ninja Turtle stuff on my own to working on the movie that I worked on. You can check out the concept art that I did. That's how this stuff works. I'm effectively making a portfolio of things that I would want to do if given the opportunity to work for them. They
Right.
can't then use my artwork in the stuff, but they can hire me to do more artwork or license the artwork.
Right, exactly. Dan, do you typically not sell the copyright to clients? Most of the people I've worked with want the copyright, and I just make sure I can sell prints if I want. It depends on the client. I was talking about a private client that just wanted me to paint like a coat of arms for their family. So, like, with that kind of thing, there's a very loose contract. They're not a company, they're just a person. And in those scenarios, I always maintain the copyright because I can erase their name off that coat of arms and relicense it to apparel companies, or I've already licensed it to 4 or 5 t-shirt companies for a fee, and they've put it on their t-shirts and stuff. Like, I can do all kinds of stuff with that artwork after the fact and make secondary income off it. If I'm doing something for a miniature company or a Pathfinder or for, any other job that's a company thing where there's actual copywritten characters, of course not. I can't take that work, and I mean, outside of selling prints of it at cons, which is kind of like the one thing everybody agrees is still sort of no one can go in there with a lawyer and tell you to stop. I couldn't sell them online though. I couldn't take that copyrighted work and do stuff with it. But for private clients, absolutely, I maintain the copyrights always. It's you're basically leaving money on the table if you don't do that because there's so many ways to license your work and to put it on things and sell prints, and you should give yourself all those opportunities.
Yeah, it's funny about, I mean, just going back to the fan art and the whole legal side of it. It's like people, you can say black and white. Of course, you can't sell fan art, but go to a convention and hire somebody to do a commission of a character. That's so common. Every single person does it. I mean, like not every single one, but you can get commissions from like anybody. Even if you work for Marvel, that doesn't then mean you own Ghost Rider and can do a commission
Right.
of it. That's not what that means. And selling prints, like, you have to get permission if you are going to go the right way. But you know that none of those people that are doing anime fan art of all those characters are getting permission. But still, it's a weird gray area. Now,
It's a
that's a
weird gray area.
gamble, and someday that might go away. But for now, it's a weird in between. So, on paper, yeah, it's not legal. But at the same time, it's just the culture of that whole thing. So it's like
Hmm.
there's nothing you can really do about that right now. It might go away eventually, but like it's pretty much the norm.
Yeah.
And whenever anybody just comes out in black and white says like, "Yeah, but that's illegal," it's like, okay, well, yeah,
Well, then
like
there's the other thing we haven't talked about, which is a huge caveat to the whole thing, which is that it's absolutely 100% legal to sell fan art if you transform it, which falls under parody and fair use laws.
yeah,
So, if you take a character and you flip something, like a lot of people will combine two things. That's one of the easiest ways to do transformative use. How many times have you seen Disney princesses as Alphonse Mucha's seasons? You can sell that. You've
But you can't
transformed.
call it Disney princesses. You have to call it something else.
Yeah, but
Like
that's the
people
thing
have to be
is,
able to see it. Like you could call something like Cowabunga and just do like some mix of Ninja Turtles with something else.
right. So you can absolutely do fan art if it's transformative use.
Yeah, then it falls under like it's a parody.
There's a great artist who blew up on like Kotaku and all those sites a couple of years ago who took like Nintendo IPs and did them as like Japanese woodblock prints, and that's a really good example of that. He took that famous, Japanese style, and he did like the Star Fox characters like flying on clouds and stuff instead of in our wings, and like that completely circumvents the copyright law, and he can then sell that legally.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that stuff, if you want to be safe about it, you can do that.
Hmm.
But at cons, like, it really isn't looked down on. It's just normal.
Good example that I pitched as a T-shirt that got shot down for this one T-shirt company that I do ideas and sketches for. I was going to take the Raiders of the Lost Ark poster, which is Indiana Jones, and he's got the whip flailing around him, and around him, carved into the stone of the temple, are the faces of all the other characters. And I was going to take the Indiana Jones font and have it say Castlevania, and have it be the Belmont guy with the whip, and have the bosses carved into the stone. That would have been transformative use, and I could have sold that because it's a parody of the Indiana Jones poster. Yeah, and like Dan Levisi with pop culture, he's taking those characters, and then there's the fine line of disparagement where it's like he's doing parody and it's legal as long as you don't do something pornographic with the characters, which then Disney could say that's disparagement, we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
He's totally within his rights to sell that book because he's not crossing that line. He walks right up to the line with some of them, but he doesn't go over it. If you go over it, Disney can then say, "Oh, it's not parody anymore; it's disparagement."
Yeah, you can't hurt their brand. That's the
Exactly.
problem. If you come out and you're actively like hurting the brand by doing something that's gross or whatever, like they can argue that point and you can get in trouble for that.
Right.
But you usually like in worst case scenario, you'll get a cease and desist most times. It's like you're not
That's
going to get
like
to the point where you're like in court going to jail. You just have to not do it. You might have to pay some damages sometimes, but that's
right.
like even that's a little extreme for most cases.
Yeah, exactly. Trace Thompson brought it up in the chat just now. Doing porn versions of copywritten characters is not parody. It's not protected by parody. The thing that frustrates a lot of people, I mean, just to be totally honest about this, because like everybody is already thinking of a few people, they have in mind about this, but like technically people that are making tons of money doing fan art and softcore pornography fan art like Sakimi-chan are actually breaking the law. They're not, she hasn't been sued yet, but like with the amount of money she's making and the fact that she's doing versions of the characters that don't have their clothes on so you can see the breasts and stuff, she's probably going to get a cease and desist at some point once someone at Disney realizes she's making millions of dollars off it. Like she's riding a very dangerous line, and like a lot of people see that and they go, "Oh, look at the money you can make on Patreon, and look at the money you can make at cons." She's blowing up, and it's like, yeah, she's blowing up, and she's doing great work and making a lot of money. She's also breaking about 5 to 10 laws. So it's
There's
like,
yeah, I mean it's a dangerous game.
right, she's
I mean,
breaking a
good
lot
luck
of
to
laws.
her.
Yeah. The response to her stuff, like I tabled with Nusha Gasemi at Comic Con last year, and the line to get to Sakimi, like Sakimi-chan, first off, got 3 tables. The way she got around it was she did collaborations with 2 other artists on some of her posters and registered the other 2 tables in their names and got them tables next to her.
Can we
She
talk about
combined
how
three.
smart that is for a second?
It's insanely smart. See, this is the thing is I'm going to sound like I'm shitting on it, but I have tons of respect for how smart she is as like a businesswoman. Like finding a way to loophole New York Comic Con, which is so stringent with its table rules and Artist Alley rules, to get 3 tables instead of one, and then put up over 100 prints on a 3 table wide banner. She shut out every other person in that alley because the line to get to her table went all the way to the end of that section, wrapped around it, then wrapped around the back end of it. She had 100 people strong waiting in that line to get stuff pretty much the entire day, which, yes, meant way less sales for Nusha and other people in that alley. And yeah, because you couldn't see their table; it was blocked by the line. But like, she is so smart in what she does to find loopholes around things. But again, for anyone listening who wants to emulate that, it's also illegal.
Yeah,
So
just
like,
watch out. Just
just watch out because you could very easily get sued for damages, especially with someone like her who's making millions.
is she actually making millions? I thought
She's
she
making,
like 600,000 a year, right?
yeah, and
That was the last I
she's
saw.
been doing it for 3 years, so that's millions.
Okay.
600,000 a year is $1.5 million every 2 years. She's already made almost $2 million off the Patreon alone. That's without the con sales. She's also making
Right.
tens of thousands of dollars at every con she goes to. So, yeah, in the 3 years she's been big, she's easily made over $2 million.
It's pretty smart. I mean, you go as hard as you can. Just dive at it. No, it's really not, like, okay, let me address this really quick. I know there's other questions in the chat,
Right.
but Tojoki Bakan says it sounds clever, but social suicide. It's absolutely not social suicide. It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's only social suicide to the little tiny group of people that are in the community.
Yeah.
Because outside of that, everybody loves it, and if you and you can't argue that point. Look at the money she's making.
Right.
Everybody loves it. People want that stuff.
And here's the crazy thing about her case is that she's a girl in the art community painting anime girls to an anime girl fan base, like people that are into that. She's like a triple threat. So she knows that it's illegal, and she knows that she might get a cease and desist from Disney one of these days. When Disney does, if they do, send that cease and desist, she gets to play three separate victim cards. So the community automatically is going to love her even more because she's going to go, oh my God, I'm being shut down. Like, and then that's going to get her even more fans and even more exposure, and people are going to be blogging about how Disney's shutting down this independent female artist. It's madness. She's in such a good position all around. It's crazy.
Yeah, she has headlines already written for that, pretty much. I mean, not her literally, but like you can write that headline in 2 seconds.
Yeah, 2 seconds. She's set up from pretty much every angle.
Famous
She
fan art
can.
artist gets shut down by Disney.
Yeah, it's crazy. She's I don't know, incredibly smart, but I also hate it.
Like, I don't know. It's super smart. I don't hate it. Like, I totally respect that stuff. It's like people get away with real things in the real world, and
I
it's
didn't
like if you
hate
can do a fraction of that and actually like get away with it, then more power to you, because the amount of shit that goes on that it
right,
just like isn't being covered, like guys getting away with stealing like millions or billions of dollars.
right.
It's
I mean,
like
that's
I
the thing
really
is
don't care.
I didn't hate it until I went to New York Comic Con and saw what it was doing to all the other artists.
Yeah, I feel bad for them, but
Like that trick of finding a way to get three tables and shutting out an entire section of 20 other artists, like that's shitty. Like up till then, I had nothing but respect for it. But when I saw the fallout that caused on everyone else's sales, like you shouldn't lose money when you go to New York Comic Con. You should at least break even if you're going to get a table at Artist Alley. The fact that basically, some people didn't come on day three because there was no point. They saw what happened on Saturday to their sales.
yeah, that
Like
is brutally aggressive.
that's bad. Like that's just bad.
But yeah,
But
the social suicide thing, it's like it really doesn't matter. Like the community is so small, and she is not selling to her own community necessarily. She's selling to everybody else. And that's the smart way to do any kind of business. Is like if you're in a tiny like community, like it's nice to be in a niche crowd, because what she's doing is still that. It's still niche, but it's bigger. Like
yeah,
there's actually people there who will spend money on that. In an art community, like we've talked about a lot, pitching your own ideas within that community can be detrimental, because you're not necessarily going to see any sales, because everybody wants to do what you are doing. So it's like they might support you as an artist supporting another artist, and there may be some people that genuinely like that thing, but outside of those two, it's like there really isn't going to be much of like a, I don't know, you want more of a crossover than that. You want
yeah,
more of a reach. You want to reach people that are interested in that thing, and not necessarily other artists that aren't a part of that niche, or aren't a part of the community that likes that kind of thing.
And yeah, Archru said like the thing is though is that you don't need to make six figures to be successful or even happy. That is true, but
Right.
most people, if told that they can make six figures, will then try to.
And if you
Like,
want to do that, like she clearly does, then, that's hers. Like,
yeah,
I don't care if I make that.
no.
It's like, it doesn't
And that's
matter to
the
me.
that's the cool thing about her is like she's got the skills. She's good at what she does. She knows her audience super well, knows exactly what they want to see, knows how to promote it, knows how to market it. Like she's an incredibly smart person and she has the skills. It's not like, you read some people who find like loopholes and people call them hacks and stuff and it's like she doesn't fall into that category. She can back it up with painting ability. But it's like, you know, past a certain point, like for anyone interested, if you want to go to New York Comic Con and get a table, they're actually bumping artists out of Artist Alley onto the show floor now because there's so many people fighting to get tables for Artist Alley. Like I just found out today, I think Nusha's going to be in the press area. Like it's crazy. It's the cons are growing at such a rate that pretty soon they're either going to need to like what's bigger in New York than the Javits Center. If they need more space than that, what are they going to do? They can't really do anything. It's going to become like San Diego Comic Con where you just start telling people, "Sorry, you can't come this year."
What is this, Mike Burns? Do you think Sakimi Chan's parents know about her business? I tried to put myself in her shoes and wonder what my parents might think. Well, I mean, like, if you work at McDonald's, you're killing billions of people.
Sure.
It's like, who cares, you know? Like, if she's
What's
doing
that
something
post
that
that she was
just
on?
people like it, like, people are genuinely entertained by it.
Yeah, people love it. She doesn't just have followers. She has fans. Like people are throwing money at that Patreon because they love what she's doing, and like that's great. More power to her. Her parents are probably incredibly proud and probably like wanting a vacation. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like, the amount of things that people do for money is nuts, and, like, it's not like she's a prostitute or something.
Yeah,
She's fine. She's
she's
just
doing
selling fan art.
doing fantastic.
Like, she's
I
not
did,
in the porn she draws.
yeah. Like I did do that double take when I found out she was doing clothes off versions of like Elsa and like other Disney characters, and I was like, how has she not been shut down yet? How is she making close to $1 million a year just on the Patreon, and Disney hasn't stepped in to say we deserve a cut? Like that's nuts. Like, but yeah, I mean, just goes to show you, you can make a living doing pretty much anything in this field if you're smart about it.
Yeah, and you have to get away from, like, I will never go as far as to say, like, people are just the only reason people are mad is because they're jealous. Like,
No,
no, I get why people are mad, but the whole deal with that is that it's like, I don't know, think about what you do on a daily basis, like what you work for, like how you do it. It's like you can't blame somebody for wanting to do that. Like,
no,
it's like, we people strive to be independent, and it's like you have to go through all these loopholes and things, and it's like, I agree that, like, she should have to buy the proper license. She should have to do that. But the
mm,
fact that you can get away from it, I can't also say like, oh, she's getting away with it, so, like, she's just a bad person. It's like, well, I don't know. Tons of people get away with shit like that. It's
right.
like, if there were a system in place where, like, she was obviously, like, working, like, to manipulate constantly in, like, a really negative way, I'd be like, okay, that's a little shitty. Where she's physically, like, hurting people, but it's
Mm,
like, it's Disney. It's this
it's
other
fine.
stuff. Like,
Yeah,
they're fine. Like, it's not hurting their bottom line. If she didn't exist, that wouldn't affect them either way. Like,
right.
the whole deal with that stuff, it's like, if it were individuals, but even that, it's like, if somebody were to do porn of Steve, I would be right there with him.
Oh, dude, if anyone's listening that likes drawing porn of characters, please do, Steve.
Yeah, like, we're totally cool with that kind of
Send it
stuff.
on over.
Our whole thing is going to be encouraging that kind of thing, because fan art, you know, if you can make an income off of that stuff,
Yeah,
in my
absolutely.
opinion, it's like, go for it. You're a fan of it, you understand why other fans like it, and you're doing the thing that the people aren't doing, then go ahead. Like, I was probably never going to do that for Steve.
Right.
It's
Uh,
something that you noticed.
Rongus the Gray in the chat says, I guess I need to make fan art, dot, 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 my soul. You don't need to make fan art. We're saying that if you do fan art, you can make a living off it, and she's proof of how that is applicable, because so many people say you can't make a living off fan art. You can. You don't need to do fan art. There's
No.
successful artists all over the spectrum that do all kinds of stuff, from only personal work to only fan art. You can be anywhere on that spectrum in the middle. If you
Yeah, our
don't do
most
fan art,
successful
you
thing
hate
is
it.
Steve.
Yeah, if you don't want to do fan art, you hate it, don't do fan art. Like, that's, you're fine. There's so many other ways to make a living. We're just saying that in her specific example, yeah, you can make a lot of money doing it. Um, yeah, Art Germ was in the same alley as Sakimi-chan. He got pretty destroyed too. He was so I was at the table with Nusha. Art Germ was on the left. Sakimi-chan's three tables were on the right, and our table and his table were completely blocked by the line for her that then wrapped around the end and went around. He was at the table we were at last time we went, Dave.
Okay.
So it went around that corner and then circled back around the backside. So, like,
Wow.
yeah, insane, insanely long line.
You're making Aiden fan art? Cool. It's gonna sell. Aiden's gonna get big.
Aiden's gonna be huge.
Well, he's gonna
If
turn
anyone-
15 soon, so.
Any other questions about anything? Like, seriously, if that wasn't a clear example, we'll talk about whatever. Literally whatever.
Yeah, so we're just waiting on our Amazon news and waiting for all that stuff to be done.
Yeah.
That's our whole world right now.
Birdsum asks, what does a lich's penis look like anyway? Well,
It's all shriveled up and rotten.
Shriveled up and blue. Yeah. He's got to use magic to engorge it.
Yeah.
Spells.
You could use a pump, magic pump.
That's true. That is true.
You can make your penis bigger in 7 days.
Hi, Steve. Question. I'm a new I think people think your name is Steve because of the title. Steve Lichman being creative. Hi, Steve. Question. I'm a new concept artist. How do I start freelancing in the industry? Do I just send my portfolio and ask if I can contribute to their team? That's one way. There's lots of other ways. Let's see. Freelancing in the industry.
Wait, what was the question again? I'll read it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to jump in. Hi, Steve. Question. I'm a new concept artist. How do I start freelancing in the industry? Do I just send my portfolio and ask if I can contribute to their team? That's a very old-fashioned way of doing it. It can still work. Basically, I think the easiest way, we kind of addressed it earlier, pretend you already have the job you want and start doing the work on your own, and then share it online, tweet it at them, email it to them, talk to other people on the team, network with other artists to find out where there's job openings and like who you should know and who you should be friends with and who to talk to. Like, do all that stuff. Like, it's not doing one thing and hoping for the best. You gotta do everything.
Yeah, I mean
It's the fastest way.
the thing with like the internet now is you have so many options of how to promote yourself or how to be seen. So it's like if you can do something like, I don't know what level you're at as far as your work is concerned, but if you're at the point where you feel like, you know, you're doing work and it's coming out, it looks like other people's work where it's rendered, it looks nice, you know, you have ideas that you like, then you can probably get that onto other sites. The fastest way to get hired, in my experience, is to prove that you can do it with or without the company. Prove that people already want to see what you do and it's in their world. So like I've gotten work, like I already said, doing the Ninja Turtles movie because I did Ninja Turtles fan art. I've gotten work doing the Masters of the Universe statues, designing them for Mondo because I did Masters of the Universe stuff, and I showed that like it's something I know, it's something I like, and how I would adapt it if I had the opportunity. So your fan art, or not your fan art, so your portfolio for the place should be like that. It's kind of like fan art. So it's like if you're applying somewhere, then you want to do the version of that job, the version of that game that you've always wanted to see. If you see something and you have an opinion about it, and you go like, this isn't exactly what I want, you know? You go, well, what would I do? And let's do that. Not do what I think they want to see. do what you want to see. And that will bring you more work than trying to pander to anybody. Because if you try and do things that aren't necessarily like uh, things that you like, but you think other people will like them, that is easy to see in your work. They're going to go, oh, this person doesn't really care about this stuff. It's just going to look like you're phoning it in and you're doing the kind of stereotypical work, and it won't stand out. So you want to make sure that your approach to all of this stuff, like promoting and getting jobs, is you putting your spin on something that people already know and adding your own aspects to something familiar so that people can go, oh, that would be cool. I can actually
Right.
see how that would make it better. And that will lead you to getting more work for sure. But you can get that stuff shown on, you can tweet at people who work at blogs. You can tweet at people who, are, like people that are kind of in the realm of like sharing that stuff. How often do you see that online? Look at these characters done this way. It's like it's
Hmm.
everywhere. So technically, that's pretty much what a portfolio is,
And it's sort of like,
especially if you're aiming it at a place.
yeah, the best case scenario, like the best position you can be in is like I remember back in the day this happened a lot on like the Warcraft forums, and it happens a lot on League of Legends forums, or at least it used to, is when the fans of something say to the company, you should hire this person. Why aren't they hiring this person? Like, that you can set yourself up to be the person they're talking about, and that is a really good place to be because people have gotten jobs at Blizzard because fans have said they should really hire this person. They know what they're doing. Fans have gotten jobs at League of Legends because the fans have said, wow, look at this original character design. I wish this was in the game. Like, people come up with funny ideas for skins for their characters and have ended up getting jobs there because they go, oh, this person clearly understands the game and the community loves them because it's got so many hits in the forum post. Like, yeah, you can do that. You can pretend you have the job, get in good with the community, and then use that to leverage yourself into actually having the job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you get any copyrights or trademarks for Steve Lichman? If so, what was the process? David Lean says. Basically, if you're at a point where you're going to be copywriting and trademarking things, you want to get a lawyer to make sure it's done right, and they will file for all of your copyrights and trademarks. Right off the bat, when you create something and you put it online, if it's original, it's automatically timestamped when you put it up on the internet, and it counts as a copyright in court. At least in the U.S., we're only in the United States, so I can't speak for other countries. But if you created something and can document that you put it up first and that you own it and that you created it, that copyright will hold up as an intellectual property copyright. If you want to have it legally copyrighted, you basically fill out paperwork and have it filed, and then, like, a lawyer will do that for you and take care of it and make sure there's nothing done wrong. Same thing with trademarks. Yeah, Steve's copywritten. The trademark I think is pending because it takes a while, but basically when you create something, you're automatically protected. If you want to go the extra mile to make sure that it's all totally, by the book, which you should, I totally recommend hiring a lawyer that understands IP law.
Yeah, sorry if the stream keeps cutting out. I think the internet's being garbage.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I talk too fast. Woke up late because I was up all night talking to Amazon. Then I talked to Amazon some more, and then I said, I'm depressed. I better drink a bunch of coffee. I
It's a
drank
good
some
idea.
coffee, too much coffee. Here I am. I hate the amount of different social media platforms that exist. Which ones do you guys think are the most important for us? Which I'm assuming is artists. I mean, Tumblr's great. Um, Instagram's great. Facebook's great. Twitter's great. I mean, that's the weird thing is that they're all kind of great.
Instagram's my favorite for talking to people. I mean, Twitter. Twitter is my favorite for talking to people. Instagram's my favorite for posting my artwork. Um, I like Facebook for the kind of like the it has like albums and shit like that that you can continually update. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't personally
And
like
it's more
updating to everything
conversational.
either. But
Yeah,
yeah, like there's just so many options.
yeah. I
But yeah, I don't
totally
like it
understand.
either.
Yeah, it is getting a little out of control. peripheral. I don't even have an Instagram yet because I can barely keep track of having Tumblr, Facebook, and Twitter. Like it's gotten. I wish. Is there a thing that just updates everything? Have they done that yet?
It's called Woof. I don't know.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. Yeah, again, if we miss an answer, just repost it. Yeah,
Wait, let me
we
call you
tend to
back.
go long on answers, so sometimes questions go by. Okay.
Dan, let me call you right back. Sorry, everybody. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but it's being extra shitty. Let me give Dan a call back. See if it sounds any better. Hey.
Was Skype just doing its gradual decline thing?
Yeah, you were just kind of like cutting out and things.
Weird. Yeah, I'm watching the stream too. It's been buffering every couple minutes.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, everybody, for the bad stream.
Sorry. Hmm. As said earlier, hey guys, I'm a 35-year-old living at home trying to get a career in this. How do you keep your head above the water at my age? I mean, basically, it comes down. It's not an age thing. It's a responsibilities thing. I talked about this on the stream the other day. It's like, 35 could mean a lot of different things. Do you have kids? Do you have a mortgage? Are you in any kind of significant debt? Are you not? Are you more free? Are you okay? Can you take a lot of time off? Like, 35 is different for everybody. Basically, the answer for all of those is the same. Take the most amount of time you can put into the stuff you want to do as possible and do the stuff you want to do. If you only have an hour, really have an hour, like you got to really analyze like how much time do I really have? How much time are you wasting on Facebook? How much time are you like gaming or going out drinking with friends and stuff? Like how much time do you really have that's free that you can allocate to the stuff you want to do, and then you just got to do that. Like it's not 35 is not too late to get into this by any stretch. It's just a matter of you personally, how much time can you put into it? How long is it going to take?
I think we're like permanently gone.
Oh no. Can you guys hear us?
We're like coming in and out. Yeah.
Oh,
Everybody's
God.
blaming Aiden for it.
So basically, when we get our emotes, we got to do an emote for Aiden and we got to do an emote for your dogs.
Yeah. Definitely an Aiden emote.
Yeah, we need an Aiden emote.
Yeah. So, yeah, this whole thing has been pretty cool. I'm like super excited about the Twitch stuff.
What are the most enjoyable clients, movies or video games? Well,
I love that.
here's
I was
here's
trying to
a-
bring up something. Dan
Sorry.
just totally went off on his own thing.
I thought you were just saying you can't wait to get emotes. I didn't know you were going to segue it.
No, I was just gonna say that like I'm happy that there's so many people here every time we go on and stream.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the fact that we're able to bring in all these people. Like we used to do live stream and like people didn't really watch that as much. Like especially for how often we did it. Like we had a good amount of people, but because of live streams platform just not really being anything great, like it didn't exist. So
And
it's nice that
Procaster
we actually have something where people can join and get notifications when we're live and all this. It's been really cool, and it seems like there's a really tight community here of people that are always around.
It's like a coal train, firing up a coal-powered train on your computer.
Yeah, the old live stream thing was like the worst
Insane.
ever. Okay, Dan.
Yeah, Twitch seems awesome. I really can't wait to get emotes and stuff. I have so many emotes I want to do. I can't wait. Yeah, someone was asking what's better clients, movies or video games, but the weird thing about that question is there's so many different jobs in both. Like, do you mean advertising for movies or video games, character design for movies or video games? Do you mean like, there's so many different things you can do with both of those, and then Video games aren't really unionized yet, but almost all Hollywood jobs are unionized. So there's only so much freelance you can do for movies before you have to be in the union. So it's like there's so many factors in that question that it's not an easy thing where it's a yes or no answer, one or the other.
Yeah, like for me, I technically did work for Ninja Turtles as a concept artist. Like if you were to like look at what I did and then go, well, what job is that? Looks like concept art. But because I'm not a part of the union, they have to call me something else. So they call me like, uh, I don't know, like turtle consultant or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I show up on the credits as something else. If I'm on the credits at all, I don't know. So yeah, there's a thing with the union stuff. But personally, for me, I like all the work around movies a little bit more. I think that the quick turnaround for stuff is really great. I like the energy of it. I think it's interesting, like when you get to do concepts and like you have this really tight deadline, and it seems like they're willing to just dive into all kinds of ideas. You're not always working with people who know exactly what they want. They're willing to be a bit more open. I like that aspect of it. I think video games, it's like sometimes they have a very clear vision because they're very like detail oriented about that stuff. It's like they know video games, they know like something already that exists that they like, that they want,
Hmm.
and that can be a little limiting. But it is job to job. Some of them are amazing. Like I work for Epic Games on Paragon, and it went in a different direction after I worked for them. I did kind of a more like 70s sci-fi look, and you can see I designed the character, that like rabbit guy in the mech. That was like one of the only ones I saw that was pretty much the same as the one I did. But that was a really good job. They let me do whatever. It's a bummer that they didn't go with my overall design ideas. But that being said, it's like, sometimes I'll work jobs and it's kind of miserable just in terms of like what you're limited to. And sometimes it's not like that at all. Sometimes it's super freeing. So it's like anything else. It's like any other job you work at where you go, like, working at this place is a bit of a nightmare, but working here is pretty great. Just depends on, the people that are there and who your contacts are and all that. But
Oh my
it's
God, this Amazon dude just got another reply from Matt at Amazon. You guys want the update? You want the live update?
Yeah, live update from Amazon as we figure out the shipping of the Steve Lichman books. Go ahead.
I love this email. Hey Dan, holding transit time as a constant, I'd say that there's a risk that if it gets sent to the dock at IND4, there might be an extra 2 days while we wait for a truck to get tendered and ship it to the proper facility. For that reason, it might be quicker to send it to South Carolina. However, if you don't mind these 2 days, slash, it might not matter if these end up getting expedited anyways, then that is up to you. Then he said, by the way, also, I just cross referenced your ASIN title and found your Kickstarter. Hilarious comic. I'm taking off for the evening, but we'll check periodically throughout the weekend. Let me know if there's any way I can help. He looked up the book.
Well, it's nice
I
of him.
said, thanks, Matt. I will relay this information to my shipper and ask them what they think is best. A lot of this might come down to if they have a driver available to get it there in the first place. Thanks for the info. I'm glad you like the Kickstarter. I'll send you a book for free if you can help us get through this mess.
I
Live
hope he
update.
responds and he goes, I was just being nice. The book is garbage.
I hope he responds and says, I'm watching you live on Twitch right now. Do not read my emails. These are confidential. Matt, if you're listening, thank you so much. You're the only person at Amazon I've talked to who I actually like.
Yeah, Matt seems like a nice guy.
Matt's gonna save this whole thing. Get a Matt emote. Matt saved everything.
Yeah, Matt saved the Steve.
Matt, thank you.
Matt saved the
Uh,
Lich.
did you answer? I was tuning out because I was typing. Did you answer the one about how to enjoy client work?
No, I was still talking about the same one.
Okay. Dave, I remember you mentioning on a stream a long time ago how you found it hard to love client work and really feel invested in a project. What's helped you stay interested when you found it hardest to get excited about work? I struggle with this a lot.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question, but like the whole deal with that is that I never really enjoy work in general. Like, it sucks when you do an idea that like I'm fairly direct when I do stuff. Like, I know exactly what I think is going to work, and I don't feel like it's baseless.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have a very strong opinion about that kind of thing. And when somebody's actively doing something that's like embarrassingly bad, and they're like telling me to change all of my work to make it something that I know won't sell, I know it won't sell. It's like, it's such a letdown to me that it's really hard to stay invested after that. Like, I had to quit a couple jobs like that where I was just like, in one job I did, they changed the whole approach to like, you know, one of the messages I got was that, girls want to have sex with this dude and guys want to be this dude, and that's how you should design him. He should feel like a sports car, and he should have cargo pants, and he should, it's like, what, he should have a chain wallet, he should have like Jinko jeans. Like, what the fuck time is this? Like, what are
Should
you
feel like
talking
a
about?
sports car.
Like, is he a
Jesus.
hacky sack? Am I drawing a hacky sack? Like, it was so many like cringy ideas, and I just was like, you know what, like, I really have to leave this. I really have to leave this job. And I didn't want to, but it was like, it's, I mean, when I couldn't do that, when I couldn't leave jobs, the way I got around it was, that feeling was just saying like, you know, I'm going to do my best regardless of what they throw at me, even if it's like the worst. I'm going to do the best execution and interpretation of that idea. I'm going to try my best to protect them from themselves. And it's like, I know that sounds dickish, but like, in reality, a lot of the people that are doing these jobs, it's like they really don't know what people want. Like, they really don't get it. Like, they are out of tune,
Yeah.
out of touch. Like, they don't really know that much about like what people in the world like have been doing for the past like 20 years. And you don't want to tell them that. Like, I've never done that. I've never said like, well, that's a terrible idea. But at the same time, it's like, oh, like, how do you say, yeah, let's do it. Hell yeah, I love this job. Full steam ahead. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of have to power through, do your best work possible, understand that at the end of the day, you're doing your best, but it's not yours. It's not your project. And just, I don't know, try not to burn any bridges.
Mm-hmm.
But enjoying it, I don't know. I don't enjoy that stuff. I just don't.
Yeah. Sometimes it's impossible to enjoy a certain job, but that doesn't mean you can't get through it and be a professional and do it. Like
Yeah, you do your part. You do your
you do
part.
it. Yeah. We're all. That's the thing is that yeah, technically artists should only work on stuff they enjoy. I guess. Like I agree with that if it's possible, but most of the time it's not possible. And like you're so lucky to be working in this field at all and to like be able to get to do jobs you enjoy most of the time that occasionally there will be one that you don't enjoy and you just kind of have to do it. It's a job for a reason. You get through it, you do the best you can, you move on to the next thing, and hopefully you enjoy that more. And that's a necessary part of getting through and growing and having a career.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, then you do that. And if you want to be independent and you want control, you want to do your own thing, then you work till you can do that. You work till that's possible.
Yeah,
And then you try your best to do exactly what you have in your head, and hopefully it's as good as you wanted it to be. And if not,
yeah,
you just keep going, but you have to finish it. You have to keep doing stuff, and eventually you'll end up somewhere. It's like, but just power through it. Because if you don't power through it and you give up, and you let your own like emotions dictate your outcome on that job, and you make a bad image for yourself, that's gonna be so hard to get away from.
yeah. Just don't get lost in the like echo chamber of like marketability. Like Dave was just describing, like when someone comes onto a job and they say like this character should be like a sports car, and men want to be like women want to have him, and men want to be him, and it's like
Yeah,
these are things that people have been saying since like 1975. Like these are just things that get repeated by people. So then when those people then become seniors in their business or whatever, they repeat them because they heard them. It's like really sit back and think about stuff. And if you don't like something and you don't enjoy it, it's perfectly fine to not like it and not enjoy it. Don't feel like you have to because a person in charge likes it. Therefore, if you want to someday be a person in charge, you need to see it their way. You can understand where a person's coming from and still maintain that you don't like a thing. A lot of people end up thinking that they have to change the way they view stuff and they have to just like bite the bullet and enjoy things they hate because people with more money like them. So if you want more money, you have to like them too. It's not the case. Just don't get lost in that. It's really a lot of people do, and it's hard to recover from that once you do. You just kind of start doing work that other people want to see.
Yep.
Let's see. Brute Cold asked, question, Dave, why did you start making comics? You didn't do it before, and you really started changing your art for it. I'm curious to know why you were doing it.
Well, I used to make comics when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
I made comics all the time when I was a kid, and the only reason I never did it after that was because I just had always heard that you couldn't do it. You can't do this for a living. It doesn't pay anything, all that kind of stuff. And I had walked away from it for so long, but I'd always had like a love for that kind of thing. I've always been a fan of it. Same with like animation. Like the reason I was playing around with animations because like that's the kind of thing I actually like. Like I don't care so much for illustration in a big way. Like I like it and I'm like a fan of other people, but when it comes to me personally, I'm not huge into it. I would rather spend like a million hours animating something and then see it run around on the screen. Like that's more fulfilling to me. And the
right.
same thing with a comic book. It's like I'd rather spend the amount of hours I would spend just rendering something for the sake of rendering it and just having like some stereotypical like goblin holding a bow and arrow or something like that. It's like I would
Mhm.
much rather spend all that time making a story, creating a comic book, doing some pages, having something that happens like an investment that in my mind pays off. And I'm not saying that stuff isn't valuable, like those kind of fantasy images, but for me personally, I just don't have that connection that a lot of people have to it. I don't have that like urge to do it. And I've always worked in that stuff because I just thought you had to, and I never allowed myself to really do comics until recently. And yeah, I've always wanted to do comics, and now I'm able to. that's,
Yeah, I
that's
mean, we
it.
did comics when we were 15, and then we heard tons of people say there's no money in comics, and we just kind of stopped, and then we went, oh, wait a minute. Now that Kickstarter and Patreon are things, and you don't have to deal with the money costs and yes, comics on a scale like Marvel aren't very, profit based anymore because of the nature of printing. But for a small company, it's the same thing as tabletop miniatures games. It's not worth it for Hasbro to do it because the market is so small that's willing to pay for it that they're not going to see a big enough return to justify it to their shareholders. But if you're a two-man team that wants to make something awesome for 60,000 people in the world that really want to buy it, you can turn a great profit as a two-man team.
Yeah,
Like
it's the same
that,
thing as video games. Like what they made
like
on Super Meat Boy for Team Meat is like insane
yeah,
for a two-man team.
comics, 2D games, statues, the D&D type stuff, like all this stuff that was written off in the late 90s, early 2000s is not marketable enough and let to kind of die on the vine. It's all having a big resurgence, and the only two reasons it's coming back are social media and crowdfunding. Without those two things, none of this ever would have happened, and it's been like this big, huge renaissance for all these comics and independent projects and games that if you were going just by the massive company version of how things got made in the late 90s, none of this stuff ever would have happened because the cost of production versus return for a team like Capcom with hundreds of employees wouldn't have been worth it. But when it's Team Meat, absolutely. It's what, two people. But yeah, let's see. Earl Gregart said, I was once asked in a meeting which version of the main character I was attracted to, as I was one of three women in the meeting.
Hold on a second. You're breaking up.
Okay. Yeah, they.
Yeah, say again.
I was once asked in a meeting which version of the main character I was attracted to, as I was one of three women in the meeting.
Wow.
Can you imagine if they flipped that and they sat a bunch of dudes down and said, "Which one of these women do you want to fuck? We're gonna put that. We're
Yeah.
gonna put that one in the game." That like, Holy shit, that's stupid.
Just sit there and go, I just can't choose. I like them all. It's a
I
creep.
can't read this name because it's like yellow. It's Antoine Schlossman. Anyway, yo, Dave, I'm headed out for a workshop tomorrow, and Wes will be one of the main instructors. Wes Burt, if anybody doesn't know. It's a week-long course, and I'll probably be the worst. Any tips to keep me from being eaten alive?
Just be a
You're thinking about
person.
this the wrong way. You're looking at this as a tier-based thing in terms of skill. Westbird is one of the nicest human beings we've ever met. In terms of the art community, he's one of the most open, experienced, and personable people you could ever have the pleasure of learning under. He's just a dude. Like a lot of people put these guys on pedestals and assume that if their skills aren't there, they're not going to be respected as equals. You're doing that to yourself. None of the instructors actually feel that way. Talk to Wes like a human, try to make a friend, and like he wasn't always great. That's the thing. Like he came, he started somewhere, he had to get better. Like he understands. Wes is a super nice guy. Don't look at it in terms of I'll probably be the worst in the class. How do I not get eaten alive? Look at it as how do I become a sponge and soak up as much possible Wes goodness in a week as possible
Yeah.
because he can teach you so much and he's such a nice guy. Like at the very least walk away from that workshop with a contact and some experience with him and like really really learn. Don't get in your own head and freak out about your skills will get better naturally over time. Be a
Yeah, you're
person.
not supposed to be an amazing artist when you go to a workshop. That's not the point of workshops. It's the point is to help people
Yeah.
who want to do what you do. And it's like, I want to say everybody feels that way. I know Wes is willing to help. It's like, these people are nice people. It's like,
Yeah.
you just have to be open. And if there is anybody there who goes like, why are you talking to me? Like somebody, like somebody from Clueless,
Yeah.
like they're the cool girls or something. It's like, just be like, oh, okay, I didn't know you were a dick. I won't talk to you, dude.
Yeah.
Well, like,
This is we brought this up on one of the previous streams like last week. I'll never forget. I went when I was in college. Me and Dave went to this workshop in oh god, Texas.
yeah,
Went to one of the
Dallas.
massive black workshops in Dallas, and I was there, and Marco Dirjevic was painting I think he was painting like the Green Goblin or something on a projector,
Yeah.
and all these people were standing back like 20 feet watching him paint, talking about how I wish I could talk to Marco, but I'm such a scrub. Like, oh man, someday I'm gonna be able to just like walk up. Someone actually said, quote, someday I'm gonna be good enough that I can walk up to Marco and just buy him a drink and it'll be cool. And I was like, you could do that right now. He's right there. You paid thousands of dollars to come to this city, stay at a hotel, attend this event for the sole purpose of meeting these people and learning from them. He's literally sitting in there's not like a rope blocking him off. There's not like a glass wall like at a zoo where you can't go in there and talk to Marco. Like the only reason you're at this workshop is to network, meet these people and learn, and people got so freaked out thinking that they weren't good enough to talk to more talented people that they literally talked themselves out of it. Never, like, why do people do that? Why do they let fandom completely crush any chance of growth?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, and if you're just shy going to one of those things, like I get that, but like you have to open up. It's like if you pay
yeah,
to go to something like that, you'll get the most out of asking them. Like just, I don't know how you practice getting over that, but like do your
well, just think of,
best to engage them. Like maybe just show them your portfolio and ask like, could you look at this for a second? Like when they're
yeah,
doing reviews or something.
to get over it, just think about it logically. If you're shy, yeah, I understand that. But to get over the shyness, just think about it logically. Why are they at the event? The answer to why they're at the event is not to paint on a projector and show off how good they are to people not as good. The reason they're there is literally to talk to you. The only reason it's a workshop is because the idea is that you work together. They are there for the students. That's the only point of a workshop. So don't get shy about it. That you are the reason that they came.
Yep. Yeah, it's just don't let yourself be intimidated by it because like listen to me like when I'm talking about stuff. Like I've shit my pants before. One like sometimes when I'm peeing, I'm not done peeing and I put my pants on and I piss myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I eat too many chocolate chips sometimes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like I do all of the horrible things that any other person does, And I also work in the industry and whatever. It's like, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm the most normal person in the world.
Right.
And I know that, like, I know the feeling of going to a workshop and meeting these artists and being like, oh, look who's here. Oh my God. I've always
Yeah.
wanted to meet this person. And it's just a human thing. It's like, if you do end up making a fool of yourself, then you did that. You just did it. Who cares? It's like they're
Mm-hmm.
still just a person like anybody else, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only difference between them is that they worked like you're working when they didn't stop, and then they ended up somewhere. And it's like, but they're the person that used to be a terrible artist. They're the person that used to have all of the same feelings you have. They're the
Right.
person that was intimidated. They were the person that, like, had anxiety about the same things you have anxiety about.
And trust us when we say that none of them want to feel like they're better than you. They just want to do art and talk to other people that do art. That's why they're participating in a workshop. None of the people that people assume view stuff as a tier based thing where like only good people can talk to good people and only scrubs talk to scrubs. Like the only people that view it that way are people that are new to it and don't have a lot of experience with it. Like most people are totally willing to talk to everybody. You just have to reach out to them in a way that isn't creepy.
Yeah, creepy's a good word for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's legitimate, like, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's cool that they're such big fans, but there were girls at that workshop that, like, walked up to take selfies with people that were artists and started crying and shaking and, like, fanning their faces to cool off because they couldn't take the hype of, like, taking a selfie with an artist. And it's like, it's great that you're that much of a fan, but, like, try to realize that they're just a person and they're there to help you. Because I
But like
guarantee
any other thing, it's like just be self-aware of what you're doing.
Yeah, like I guarantee they felt awkward when that was happening because, like, who wouldn't?
And the thing about, like, them just being normal people is that, like, you have to kind of sit back and understand that even some of these people who are, people at the workshop, they're just as shy as you. Like, they went to this thing and they're trying to get over stuff too. It's like when they have a hard time public speaking, it's like
Mhm.
they're going through something similar to what you're going through. Like, it's a struggle for them, and it makes them feel comfortable if you can go up and just talk to them normally.
And honestly, if you are shy and you do feel awkward and you're afraid that you're getting into like a weird zone, and because I know everybody knows from we've all had that experience where you start to freak yourself out in your head, and then you can't come back from it because anything you say is going to sound weird because you're freaking yourself out. If you get to that spot, just tell them, just go, "Hey, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm gonna sound like an idiot because I can't believe I'm meeting you." Like, just address it. It's
Yeah.
fine. They'll probably laugh at it because they've probably had that experience with people before too. Like, they came up and were fans of artists before them. But like, yeah, just address it. Just be transparent because that's the most human thing you can do, and that's the thing that they're gonna relate to.
Yep.
Um, let's see. Dave, didn't you just shit your pants like 2 days ago? Yeah, he did a little bit.
And why don't you calm down? Didn't you just shit your pants 2 days ago? Why don't you do a stream and talk about the embarrassing things you do? I'll come after you.
That's
Where do you
archived on
live?
YouTube if anybody wants to watch it. I think it's the June 7th one
You
where Dave
shit
shits his
your
pants a
pants
tiny
the other
bit.
day. I didn't shit my pants. I had shit in my pants. More specifically,
The
between my
definition
ass cheeks.
the definition of semantics. I didn't shit my pants. I had shit in my pants.
Technically, it was in my pants. And even more technically, it was between my ass cheeks. And even getting more technical than that, it was probably directly on my asshole. So you can
Wow.
go and, whatever, dude. That's on you. You brought it up.
Let me find another question here for you. Oh God.
You shit your pants.
June 7th archive. Hey guys, recently had a shoulder injury and it's going to take a while to heal. 30 minutes of drawing is enough to get hard to keep. Don't know if any of you had a similar problem, but do you think only practicing with wrist and fingers would create bad habits since I can't use my shoulder or elbow that much? I mean, if you want to draw, find a way to draw that's comfortable. Just watch out if you're using your wrist. You don't want to get any kind of like carpal tunnel-y thing. Just like, watch out for that. Make sure you don't create a secondary injury on top of your first one. But yeah.
Yeah, just, do what you can. I don't know how long your recovery period is, but find a way to comfortably draw. If you're trying to like study or something like that, I don't know. Just get, just get through it. I don't know if you're going to, it's like a permanent injury, but I would say if it's permanent, then do your best to find a way to kind of like work around it if you can. But otherwise, yeah, maybe you do have to be limited in what you do.
Yeah.
I can say like right now, I don't know if it's just because I don't have an injury and I can't feel it, but when I'm working on the tablet, I usually work with just moving my wrist. I don't do like broad strokes where I use my whole arm all the time like I would. I might do that if I'm like inking something. I might use like from my elbow, I'll paint. But if I'm working digitally, I tend to just use my wrist to move.
Mm. Let's see. Shoe Thief would like to know, how often are you shitting your pants?
Again, with the shit. Shit stuff in Aiden. I'm gonna do a little emoticon of a pants with shit in it.
Very good.
Pretty often. No, not that often.
Sunny Boy 123 would like
Every
to
other
know,
year.
what advice would you have on overcoming fear of public speaking? I mean,
Do something
starting,
like this.
yeah, starting a live stream is great because then you're public speaking, but you don't have the weirdness of an audience staring at you, and it'll get you accustomed to like hearing your own voice and like, responding to questions and stuff.
Yeah, I used to be afraid of public speaking when I was like a kid. I was afraid of it, and then I kind of just started thinking like everybody's just like me. That's how I got over it. I was like, everybody has the same problems I have. Everybody feels the same way I do. Like, and I just need to talk through it. And I got over it by just doing it on. Well, we made videos when we were kids,
Hmm.
and that helped. And just getting like getting used to hearing yourself speak, like
Hmm.
getting used to being like kind of clearer, like you're acting out stuff, like we did like little short films, and like that helped me a lot to just kind of be normal, like because usually you're not self-aware when you're just
Right.
talking to somebody randomly. Like if I'm talking to like my brother, I'm not worried about how I sound. But if I'm on camera, I'm thinking about how I sound, and it takes a while for you to kind of get over that, where you're like, oh yeah, like now I'm normal. Like now I'm just the way I am when I'm with my friends. Like
Right.
that's what you want to get to. So if you just do it enough, like on here, like if you do like a live stream or something where you're just talking, then it's easier to go into a public space. I've gotten to the point where I actually enjoy public speaking. I like doing that stuff. I like engaging with people. I like talking to people and like getting, I like being next to people and helping them with stuff if I can. Like that's my favorite kind of interaction is just being out with people,
Yeah.
doing it physically.
Another tip that worked for both of us, I think, which this isn't for everybody, but it worked for us, so maybe try it. Like, we like answering any question. Like, for example, Dave just talked about shitting his pants. And if you can take questions like that and just talk about any topic, that'll make you a lot more comfortable. Like, because you won't have that fear of what if people, like, whatever, like, just
Think
let
I'm
them ask
stupid.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. Don't have that fear of what if people think I'm dumb. Just answer any question. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you're going to be because you've answered the questions before.
And if somebody asks you something insulting, the best part is to answer it as honestly as humanly possible because it turns
Yeah.
the boat around and puts it on them.
Yeah, it makes them the asshole for asking it, and it doesn't make you look embarrassed and weak, which is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, don't let things like that control you. You just
Yeah.
got to turn it around and go, "What is that? What you wanted to hear?"
Hmm. Any good books or resources on the business side of art, like contracts, pricing, marketing, etc.? No.
I would look at regular books about that stuff, not
Yeah.
art books.
The thing about the art industry that's different than other industries, I guess it's not that different from other industries, but it's not standardized. So many factors go into what your prices are going to be, including who the client is, how good you are, what other people are charging is going to determine the highest you can charge. Like, there's a fluctuating freelance market of rates and what people are willing to pay and what certain work is usually valued at and what's too high and what's too low. And that's constantly shifting every couple of years. So there isn't like a book with definites. The only definite thing that doesn't change is contracts and like copyrights and like what you can do with your work legally. That kind of stuff I can't recommend a book on because I don't think I've ever read one, but I've never seen one that has to do with art specifically. But yeah, you can find books on copyrights and things like that and like
You
how
can
to
just do
protect your
research
stuff.
online too.
Yeah, and yeah, but that's the thing about the art industry that's weird is it's like an ongoing marketplace. Like things change, new things will come out that change the rates of other things. People from countries where currency is worth more or less will either undercut or overcharge, which will bring down rates in other countries to compete. Like there's so many factors that change it year to year that you just kind
What's
of have to figure out and roll with it.
what's that Derek Sivers book? Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna
Every,
recommend
everything,
this.
anything you want, everything you want.
It's anything you want. So, if you have any interest in doing business stuff, anything at all regarding like your art or like just having your own thing, I would say get the audiobook of Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. It's an amazing resource. He has awesome opinions, experiences on all this stuff, and at least for me, it was the approach that I thought like, wow, no, that actually makes sense. Like this is actually some common sense advice that applies. A lot of times it's like people have so much technical advice that it becomes kind of intimidating, and you're like, where do I even start? But when what he does, it's like all common sense, and it's things that you can do now, and it makes sense now. Uh, it's a really good book. It's a short audiobook. I think it's less than 2 hours or just over 2 hours. But yeah, I would say get that. Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. It's awesome.
Let's see. I'm planning to upgrade to an iPad Pro from the Air. Any experience on how it compares to a Cintiq for light digital painting sketching?
I've
Uh,
never used it.
I have. Um, there's no comparison to a Cintiq in terms of like
Oh
the
wait, we
newest
haven't used the new one, right?
the new Cintiq.
No, I'm talking about the new. Everybody's saying that new iPad thing is awesome.
Yeah, we haven't used it. I'm talking about the last generation iPad. If you're talking about the brand new one, neither of us have used it, so maybe we shouldn't answer that.
Yeah, it's like I don't even have the last generation iPad. Like I don't have the iPad 2 or whatever.
Right. Yeah, if you're talking about like the iPad 2 or the last gen one,
I don't even know if it's
absolutely
called the iPad 2.
The Cintiq is completely superior in every way. We haven't tried the new iPad, so we don't know. Um, let's see. Any other questions, everybody? To follow up on the cringe talk from last stream, what are the cringiest things you guys have done to yourselves? Or done yourselves.
Done to yourselves.
I was like,
It's gonna
that's
get
gonna be
dark fast.
gonna be dark. Done yourselves, and I've done tons of cringy stuff. I don't know where to start.
Cringy stuff I've done. Let me think about this for like a second.
Right.
Cringy stuff I've done. I'm trying to think of like really embarrassing things. Man, what are some cringy things I've done?
To me, it's only cringy if people are around to witness it. So like, I have to really think because I'm home alone so much. It's like if I
Yeah.
do something, it's like the tree in the woods falling thing. If I do something cringy and no one's here to witness it, is it really cringy?
If you're dead in the woods by yourself,
Yeah.
are you really dead? Um, I have to go all the way back to like middle school, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cringy. Uh, the one I think about that I actually like think about is that I have a dark one. I have a super dark one, and then I have one that's not as dark. The one that's not as dark is I had a book report that I did in sixth grade, and I remember standing in front of the class, and I never read the book, but I could draw, so I made a poster for the book, as if I had done the book report, and
Hmm.
and it looks real because I was like, the artist in like my grade, pretty much. Like there was like maybe one other person who drew, and I stood in front of the class and I just stared at them for like way too long, and I just said like, it's a book. Uh, there's a guy. Like I literally did the thing of like describing what's on the cover, like what I drew on the poster,
Right.
and then I sat there and I felt my face turning bright red, and like I felt, that nervous energy spreading across my body, and
Mm-hmm.
then I just went and sat down. I said what my drawing I said what my drawing was. I literally just said exactly what it was, and then I sat down. And it was like, I think about that sometimes. The other one that was really bad was there was these bullies when I was a little kid, when I was in like third grade, something like that, and they were like creepy bullies. Like I don't know if you remember creepy elementary school bullies that looked at
Oh
you when
yeah.
you're on the toilet,
Yeah, the ones that like it
like
wasn't the fact.
creepy shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they'd jump over the door that separated the stall and they'd try to watch you pooping.
Yeah,
There's some
like who
there's
wants
some
to see you poop?
yeah.
So I sat there and I was shitting, and they did that. So I was like, fuck that, I'm not going in there. And then I waited so long in my class that I peed my pants. I just peed my pants in the chair, and then I got up and I went. No, I was in second grade. I remember I was in second grade and I peed my pants, and then I got up and I went. I couldn't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's barely even that's barely even cringy.
No, I'm trying to think of actual cringy stuff. I feel
Me
like I
too.
saw more cringy stuff than I did.
I think everyone feels that way. I've probably done
Yeah,
cringy stuff I didn't realize was cringy. I'm trying to think of stuff. I can think of embarrassing stuff. I can't.
that's
I'm
what I'm
trying to
trying
think.
to think of. I've
Yeah,
gone
I'm trying
back
to
to
think of cringy
embarrassing.
stuff.
I
We'll
mostly
get.
all my stories that involve me, I'm like trying to do something and then something dark happens. That's
Mm,
most of my stories. When I brought flowers into my terrible mother, who's like really mean, I gave them to her when I was little. I was like in kindergarten, so I think I was like, what? You're like 5, right, in kindergarten, or you're
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
And I gave my mom flowers, and she went, "These are weeds." And I
Right,
was like, "Oh my god." Well, I
right.
say that
Yeah.
now. Back then, I was just sad.
I
That's just a
think
dark one, though.
maybe the cringiest experience of my. There's so many. One of like in the top 10 was I asked when I was in eighth grade. I asked this girl who I had a huge crush on to go on a date. And I was not popular in eighth grade. I was like super nerd kid that nobody talked to. And she agreed, which I was like, oh, holy shit, that's awesome. Like,
I hate
whoa,
this story.
this isn't the one you're thinking of.
Okay, good.
Or maybe it is. Which one are you thinking of?
I'll wait.
So, anyway, so she gives me a place to meet her and stuff, and I'm gonna ride my bike out and like meet her on a Saturday. And I go and I ride across town and I meet her at this place, and it's not her. It's another girl who I knew had a crush on me that I was kind of scared of because she was also weird. Like, I mean, I was weird too, but like she like creeped me out. She was one of those people that doesn't talk and just looks at you. Those
Mm.
quiet, those like super quiet people. And like I was like 13. I was young and I was just like I thought she was weird and it was creepy. And what the girl I had asked out had done and said, like, oh, like Dan is into you and you should go meet up with him. And she was into me and like basically she lied to me and set me up on a date with this girl that she knew liked me. And I don't she wasn't trying to be mean by doing that. She thought she was doing a nice thing, but she also lied to me, so it was weird and creepy. So then I couldn't leave when I showed up because I figured out very quick from what the girl was saying when I got there that like, oh, for I was like, why are you here? And she was like, oh, like for our date. And like I realized real fast what had happened and what I was now trapped in. And then I spent like 6 hours with her on the most awkward date ever. It was like me and her mom was there for some reason. And her mom was doing the mom thing of like, oh, my girl's finally dating a boy. And like, oh my God, did I just want to die?
Can you
Like,
talk about the after this one? Can you talk about the bringing you into the woods, girl?
oh, I didn't even think of that.
Because that was
I
cringy.
didn't even think of that. Dude,
That
right.
one's cringe.
Holy shit. That didn't, I thought you were going to talk about the dance one.
No, I was thinking of another one when I said what I said, but then I thought of that one.
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm in college. I'm in this class where all the different majors in the art college take this class together called like visual media. And it just teaches you the basics of like, this is what a collage is, this is what watercolor is, blah, blah, blah. And there's this older girl who I think is cute, and I don't really know her. She's like a junior, and I'm like a freshman. And word gets to me through mutual friends that she's into me, and I was like, okay, that's weird. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so I make an effort to talk to her, and I was always the kid that would stay late after class till the school closed at like midnight, and I just work in the studios and stuff because no one else was around. So I just like put music on and do my painting homework and stuff, and then I'd leave when the police came by and said like we have to lock the building down. So like she started showing up when I was there alone because she started figuring out that I was there alone, and like she wouldn't really say stuff to me. She just like watched me work, which was weird. But I was like, okay, maybe she just wants to like hang out. This is kind of strange that like she's not really talking and she's not really doing homework. She's just there. And then she was like, we should go on like a real date. And I was like, okay, sure. And I said, like what kind of thing would you like to do? Do you want to go somewhere? Do you want to do dinner? I was like, let's figure something out. And she automatically said, I already know what I want to do. Don't even worry about it. I'll cover it. And I said, okay, I've never had a girl say that before. I'm interested in what this is going to be. This is like a weird mystery. Okay. So the day before I go on this date, my friend DJ shows up, and he's an older kid in the college, and he comes in the room when I'm painting at like 10 at night, so I'm all alone. And he goes, dude, are you going on a date with her? And I said, yeah. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, I don't, what do you mean? And he was like, do not go. And I was like, I have to go. And he was like, all right, bring a phone with you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, just bring a phone with you because you might get like stranded. I was like, what? He's like, just trust me. Just trust me. She might like lose her temper or something and like ditch you. Is she driving? And I was like, yeah, she's driving. And that's why he brought that up because he was like, okay, well, if you're not driving, bring like a phone. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like this, she's just like a normal girl. Like, what? So anyway, I go on the date. I get in her car and we're driving down the ocean side. And we get to this state park, which is like forest, just like a forest, like a state park. And she parks the car and gets out, and I'm like, so we're going on a date in the forest? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, is it like a picnic or something, or are we going to like a location? Like, what are we doing? And she was like, oh, you'll see. So I follow her into the woods. We're walking some more, then we're walking even more. About an hour goes by, and I'm like, where are we going? And she goes, oh, it's not that much farther. I'm like, okay. So we keep walking. The ground is getting kind of swampy and weird. It's like muddy. There's like weird, like gnarly trees and stuff. We're way out in the woods. And the whole time I'm thinking about DJ saying, bring your phone. She might get angry. And I'm starting to realize that something is wrong with this scenario. This is not a normal date. We're like hiking through swampy woods, and I don't know where we're going, and like the sun's going down, and I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So we get to a little stream, and there's a bridge that goes over the stream, little tiny bridge. She sits down on the bridge, and she says, sit next to me. So I sit down, and we just kind of watch the water, and I'm like, so what is this place? Why did you bring me here? And then she seems like she's going to start crying. Her like breathing changes, and she kind of does that like thing.
Spooky.
And she leans over and puts her head in my lap. And keep in mind, this is the first day I've ever been on with this girl. And she puts her head in my lap and then grabs my hand and like puts it around her because I didn't do it. She like made me do it. So then we sit there quietly for a couple minutes. And then she says, I used to come here with my ex-boyfriend. He's dead now. And I did not know what to do. So I
Hit the
said,
ejector seat.
I said, oh my God.
Fly off into space.
I said, oh, I'm so sorry. How did he die? And I started asking questions. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, DJ said, bring a phone. He said, bring a phone. What's happening? Did she bring him here? Did she kill him here? What's happening? Is that why he's dead? Did she throw him in the stream and drown him? What's going on? So anyways, I'm talking to her about her dead boyfriend for a while. And she's talking about like he died on like a ski trip and like all this stuff. And like this all actually happened. So I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to be like mean about this because it's like a true story. But like this was so scary to me, and she's telling me about the whole scenario and crying about how much she loved him, and she never really got over it, but she's learned to live with it, and she sees him in other people, and she kind of sees him in me, and like I start saying like, you know, she's talking about all this deep stuff, and then out of nowhere I'm like, hey, it's getting kind of dark out, maybe we should turn back, and I just like kind of kill the moment and stand up, and then she gets so mad that I've killed the moment that she just gets up and walks back to her car the whole hour and 15 minutes through the woods as the sun's going down, and she doesn't say a word to me. And I'm following her back to the car, and I get in the car, she drives back to the campus, says nothing to me, and the whole time I'm, you know, every couple minutes I'll be like, hey, it's okay. I didn't mean to make you angry, you know, like, I'm really sorry, like, you know, I think there's just a misunderstanding, and she will not speak. So then I get out of the car, she stops it in the parking lot of the campus. I get out and I lean down to the window and I'm like, hey, are you going to be okay? And she just hits the gas and peels out with me standing there. So then a couple days go by. She comes in the room, I'm working again late at night. I don't know she's behind me. She says, out of nowhere, are we going on another date? And I said, I don't think so. You know, no offense. Seems like you're working through some stuff. You know, it's too much for me right now. I get it. We're still friends and stuff, and we can talk and stuff. But like, you know, I don't think you're in a place for it. I don't think I'm in a place for it, etc. She gets super mad, leaves. We don't talk for the rest of the semester. Some weeks go by. Here's the finale. The finale. She's a pencil artist who renders things in pencil, really tight pencil drawings. And I leave, I do my final exam, I turn in my NC Wyeth Master Study replica. I get a good grade, I go home. I've been working on it up all night for 4 days, haven't slept in 4 days. I go home, I go to bed. First thing I do, I just go to sleep. Semester's over, thank God. I wake up mid-nap. I've been asleep for like 4 hours or so. I wake up, I'm really thirsty. I go to the fridge. It's about 6, 7 p.m. The sun's going down. I get up. I go to the fridge. It's just me, fat guy, naked, like in my boxers, pretty much naked. I open up the fridge, and so like just picture the visual. I need you guys to picture the darkness. I'm half naked. I'm all sweaty. I haven't slept in 4 days. I'm in my boxers. I open up the refrigerator. I've got the gross fluorescent refrigerator light hitting my body. I'm looking for a bottle of water, and then past my refrigerator door is the entrance to my apartment. And under the door, I hear a sliding sound. I look up over the fridge, and there is a fully rendered pencil drawing of my face that has been slid under the door. And I know she's outside, and that she drew it, and that she slid it under the door, and that she's still there. And I can see the shadow from her feet outside the door. So I stand perfectly still. I don't breathe. I pretend I'm still sleeping. She doesn't know I'm awake, I hope. A couple minutes go by, and then the image gets pulled right back out under the door. So she thought I was asleep. left it there for me, then decided it was a bad idea and pulled it back out.
Oh.
Luckily, the drawing, like she emailed it to me later, like 2 weeks go by, and I get an email from her with no text, and it's just the image. And luckily that happened, so I could send it to Dave to prove this happened. But there you go. There you go. That was way too long. That's a long story.
I can tell a short story if you want.
That is a long story.
Let me tell a short story.
Good.
I was in the airport, and there was this lady, and she was screaming with her kids. She was, "Where is he?" And she was bright red in the face. And they were like, "Well, we did it. We missed our flight. We missed our flight. I guess we just missed our flight." Like, she's talking to her kids and stuff. And then the dad walks up, and he's eating a bag of popcorn. And the plane had taken off. And she goes, "I told you! We don't have time for popcorn chips!" And he goes, "Where were you?" And he goes, "Just getting popcorn chips." "What?" She's like, "We missed our plane! We missed the flight! What are we going to do now?" "I don't know." It's my favorite thing.
I don't know.
Fucking broke me.
Oh, boy. So anyway, the other side story to that, I forgot. When I went to the graduation show, all of her work was hanging up, and there was a huge pencil drawing of her boyfriend who died on the ski trip.
Dark.
Like him going down the mountain with like his head in the sky and stuff like that. And yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm next. It's like
I'm
a Dorian
next.
Gray thing where because she drew me, I'm also gonna die.
You're dead already.
Anyways,
This is a dream.
I feel really bad for the girl. Like but I feel worse for me because it was fucking horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's like traumatizing. That's so scary.
Yeah, I called Dave the second she peeled out of the driveway. I was like ready to cry. I remember calling you and being like, "I don't know what just happened to me, Dave."
Yeah.
Dave, I don't know.
Good story, though.
There you go. Got that story.
There's
many
tons of stories like that.
Just got some questions in the chat. Gotta space these stories out. This Twitch has to last a while.
Yeah, we gotta have more stories.
Yeah,
We
we
can
can't
talk
have
more about current events.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that already exists.
All right. Like what?
I don't know. What was that thing that just came out that we were talking about like last night? The thing that was released, the pictures. Shit.
Pictures?
Of that thing, the fucking... Let me Google around my desktop and see if I can't find it.
What pictures? Was it a game? A movie?
Something like that.
Oh, Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, that's what it was, right. Man, her sidekick looks so much like Kiefer Sutherland from her sidekick in the Ghost of the Shell movie has like the white hair, but he doesn't have the glasses. What's his name? Batu?
Yeah.
That he doesn't have like the little glasses, he just has like the big white hair. And like
Right.
he looks just like Kiefer Sutherland in the Lost Boys.
Yeah,
And
he
I
totally
hate it.
like him. He doesn't look like the dude from Ghost in the Shell, though. He looks like Lost Boys.
He looks like Kiefer Sutherland from Lost Boys. But, I mean, I don't care what side of the spectrum people fall on in regards to the casting. I think Scarlett Johansson looks great with the haircut and like the outfit. She looks really good as the character.
Yeah, I thought those pictures from the set looked really good.
I don't know if it's because the Batu guy looked so horrible and she just looked better by comparison. But
No,
like,
it looked good.
he looked so bad though. I was like, come on.
I gotta ask Kim what that dude said.
What the?
Kim, I'm live. What did the
Live?
popcorn chips guy say?
What part?
What was his catchphrase that we kept saying for like the rest of the year?
He said, "Really?
Oh, that's what it was. That's why it was so funny.
Really?"
Yeah, really. We missed the plane. Really?
No, she said. She was like, "Where were you?" He was like, "I was getting popcorn chips." And she was like, "I told you we didn't have time for popcorn chips." And he's crunching on it, going, Really? Really?
That's one of my favorites. What's the worst thing that happened that's a story in the past like year that happened to both of us?
To both,
To both of us?
Or just no, I'm talking to Kim.
Oh, to Kim.
What was so many funny things happen and we're trying to talk about cringe stories and I can't remember any of them. Oh, one time.
No. The guy at the restaurant. The guy at the restaurant who showed you up about your beer or whatever it was.
What was it?
The guy in New York, the waiter.
Oh, the saison.
The saison.
Oh, that was like the very first.
Yeah, it was saison.
Yeah.
I
I
love
was
that.
looking at the menu and I said, "I'll have the saison." You mean the saison?
You're like, no, just keep it, dude.
I don't want it anymore.
Yeah, fuck you.
Oh, the saison.
No, we had so many cringy things happen. I don't know.
Didn't he give you shit for the drink you chose? And he was like, "Oh, you should pair it with this or something." Like he did other stuff. It wasn't just the saison.
Yeah, I can't remember all of it. Kim at the pharmacy dealt with a guy whose secret name was Richard Gere. I can tell people that. Kim can't. It's illegal.
There you go.
You're gonna go to jail, Kim.
Would like to know the pricing list for colors at the printers for Steve Lichman, if any. Would also like to know how much it compares to something like Skull and Shark. I don't know if we can. I don't know what that is. Pricing
Yeah,
list
I
for
don't know
colors
either.
at the printers. We had a rate for the book. Period. They
I
didn't
guess
charge
the
us
other cringy thing would be like
line, etc.
when I was sick, I got bit by a tick, got Lyme disease. I was on antibiotics for like 6 weeks and it was just tearing my stomach apart. And someone tried to empathize with my stomach hurting and all of the other symptoms of Lyme disease, which is like extreme fatigue and like aching joints and all that stuff, by saying, "I know how you feel. I once ate a whole bag of Starburst." Oh my god, not even close.
I know I have Lyme disease. Oh, I once ate Starburst.
Yeah, and my
something I'd
stomach hurt
say.
because I ate the whole bag.
Yeah. That was a really good one.
That's a perfect joke for like a movie.
Yeah.
It's a perfect joke for Zach Galifianakis to say.
Here.
Is Dan talking?
Yeah, Dan's here.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, Kim. Kim can't hear me, can she?
Yeah.
No, I can now. I put a
Oh,
headphone in.
sick.
Sick.
Any
Richard
other
what?
questions?
Richard Gere.
Any other questions in the chat? Yeah, in terms of the pricing list for colors, they charged us like per book for the project. They didn't break it down into like this much for the colors, this much for this. It was just kind of like an all-in-one.
Yeah, we were trying to think of like somebody asked in the chat for cringe stories, and we were trying to think of horrible stuff that happened.
I feel like we have a lot. I'm just not
There's a
thinking
lot
of
of
anything.
horrible stuff. I don't know, like cringe is so specific though. Like I can talk about horrible things, but cringe is like a subset.
Oh, I have another one. We went to a restaurant. Just Dave and I went to a restaurant, and he was like, "Would you like to see the dessert menu?" And we're like, maybe." He goes, "Well, there is a cheesecake on there made with real Philadelphia cream cheese, and it is to die for."
Yeah, Philadelphia cream cheese is to die for. It's Land O'Lakes butter. It is to die for. Yeah, that was
God.
pretty horrible.
Literally a Grey Poupon ad.
Yeah, that was
God.
good. What
Hey,
about the
guys.
one where you saved those people from the exploding car?
That's not cringy. That was
It's
just
cool, though.
insane. I've still got the video.
Yeah, if you have, do you have the video online?
It's on my Facebook. It's on my phone too. I
I
don't know.
was wondering if I can play it on the stream.
Let me see if I can find it. I'll look for it while I talk about it.
Yeah, Dan will tell the story.
So basically, I'm driving back from
Let's
IKEA.
see.
I just moved into my new apartment. I'm looking for stuff at IKEA. I'm driving back. There's a car on the highway, and under the car, smoke starts coming out of the car, and I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna. There's a fire. Like, oh god. So I speed up, and I'm driving next to them, and it's a bunch of teenagers in a car, and I'm pointing at their car, and I'm screaming at them, and the driver's looking over at me, and he's like, laughing, like, well, who's this crazy guy driving next to me? And then I see the flames under the car, not just smoke, fire, and I'm screaming, and I start swerving towards them to get them to pull over, like I'm swerving at them like I'm gonna hit them, And eventually they take the hint and they pull the car over, and I pull the car over. And they don't get out of the car. The girl like gets her cell phone because she doesn't know who I am, and they think I'm a crazy person. And I start running towards their car, waving my arms, and I'm like a big fat guy, so it's like I can't even imagine what they were thinking, like a big fat guy with a beard. And like they eventually start hearing me yelling, "Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car!" And they all get out of the car, and then they see the smoke going up behind the car, and they see the flames coming out from under the car, and I'm like, "Get out of the car! It's like when it gets to the gas tank, it's gonna like blow. Get out of the car!" And the last girl gets out of the car, and I'm like, "Run towards me, like just run." And they start running away from the car, and then it goes up. The whole car goes up, and it's weird. It doesn't make like a movie explosion, obviously, but it made this weird like that sound, that weird like kind of high pitched bassy like that like ooh, like one of those weird sounds, and then the whole thing just went up in flames, just the whole thing. And then I had to just sit there on the side of the road with them while they watched their car and all the stuff in their car that they just bought burn. And yeah, I had to fill out like a police report and stuff. But that was like, I'd never seen a car go up before. They go up so quick.
Yeah, it's a cool story. You didn't get a key to the city for that one, though.
No, that was when I saved the old lady and carried her to the police department.
It's also sarcastic, but it's real.
I know a cringe one.
Also a true story.
Dan, I know a cringe one. Hold on.
I found the video.
Elu once, Kim. But their cringe story is the girl that used to live next to you in your old apartment and your pants and the groceries.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's an amazing cringe story.
Do you want to tell it?
No, you can tell it.
I don't know if I want to tell it.
Do you want me to tell it?
Do you even know it?
Yeah, I remember it. Kind of. I'll probably just butcher it.
It's a real simple story. Here, I'll run through the basics. Real simple story. I'm a fat guy. I'm wearing pants. I got a belt on to keep the pants up. I live in this apartment that's on the third floor of like a factory building, and like, they don't have like shopping carts. So I'm not going to make multiple trips down to the car and come all the way back up to bring my groceries in. I'm going to find any way possible to carry all 30 bags of groceries at once. Clearly. So I'm walking down my long hallway to get to my apartment, and this hot girl who lives next to me is coming out of her apartment, and she's like locking the door. And suddenly my pants start falling off. And I'm wearing these baggy pants that have this belt. I'm carrying all these groceries, and I can't put the groceries down in time. I know I can't. I know the pants are going to fall off. So what I do, without even thinking about it subconsciously, is I start shuffling towards my apartment door while carrying all these groceries, and I start like squatting a little bit to like try and like arch my back to keep the pants on somehow. So it looks like I'm squatting and taking a shit while holding all these grocery bags. And as I do that, they just keep falling off and off and off and off. And by the time I get to my door, the girl is trying so hard not to laugh her ass off at me because pants are all the way around my ankles and I'm carrying all these bags of food. And it's great.
Don't the groceries end up falling out too? Like, doesn't one of your bags rip?
Oh yeah, when I got to the door, I tried to get the keys while holding the bags of groceries, so I like reach into my pocket with all the groceries, wrap around my wrists, and cut off the circulation. And like all the oranges fell out of one of the bags, and then I need to grab the oranges, and then the bag just ripped and everything fell. My pants are around my ankles, and I can't get my keys. And... Great time. Great time. Talk to that girl again. Great story.
It's pretty cool, man.
Sometimes you just cross paths with people in life.
Yeah. I think there's somebody was saying that we should answer some questions.
I didn't see it. Just didn't see any.
Two Beards further up.
Two Beards further up. Oh, okay, I see it. I've battled the fear of failure and anxiety ever since I started drawing. This is slowly hindered. Oh my god, the chat keeps skipping it away from me. Chat. This has slowly hindered my overall progress. Now I feel like I am getting too old to continue pursuing this passion. There are so many better younger artists than me. Do you have any tips how to battle this self-destruction? It's not an age thing. It doesn't matter that there's better younger artists. You know, there's great older artists too that you're just not thinking of and not considering because your brain, because it's a human brain, wants to focus on the negative thing because it wants to talk you out of doing the hard work. That's what brains naturally do. You're looking at the younger people, you're not looking at the older people. And there's plenty of older artists that do great stuff, and it's never too late to get into an industry. You can do it, it's just a matter of allocating the time to do it. The best way to tug yourself out of the self-destruction, I think, is to just not fight it. Just be like, yeah, okay, like I feel negative about it, but don't let it talk yourself out of it. Just do the work. Like, no one cares how old you are. They care about the work. You're never going to apply to a job with a portfolio, and the guy's going to email you back and go, yeah, well, that was great work, but are you 35? Because no older people. Like, it's never going to happen. They're never going to be like, oh, well, you have a senior discount? Ha 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 ha. Like, no one cares. No one cares. They only care about the work.
Do you want to see your discount?
The story we always go to is like Brad.
Brad Rigney.
He showed up out of nowhere, and no one knew who he was. And he just had an amazing portfolio that just showed up suddenly, and people were like, whoa, what's this? And like, I don't know, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Brad, I think he started doing it when he was like late 30s, mid to late 30s, and he didn't become a working artist till he was like 38, I think. I think that's his full story. But
Yeah.
Brad's like one of my best friends. Like, I talk to him all the time on the phone. Like, he's the most humble dude. He was older. He had like a lot of things that happened in his life that like pushed him to do something with himself. But like he like he's like one of the older people doing this. Like, there's plenty of older artists like him, and he didn't even start till he was a little older. But like, you can literally do, I don't know, it's like you can do anything. It's like you don't have to be a certain age to do whatever you want to do. Like, you just need to work hard and do the best version of the thing you want to see. Like, you have to try to be somebody, like try and be yourself. Like, try and be the person you want to be. It's like,
Right.
if you don't let yourself do that, you'll let down not only yourself but everybody else who never get to see that. Like, just because you're saying that you're too old, like, it doesn't matter. And as far as skill level is concerned, that's only like the most specific level industry. Like, you look at everything else out there, you can do so much. You can become like this amazing comics artist, like that we've talked about a bunch. It's like, look at like Cyanide and Happiness, look at like The Oatmeal, look at like even like Penny Arcade. It's like, it's well done, but it's it's that comic booky style. Like, you can do other things other than the one avenue, like doing concept art that's super realistic or something like that. But if you want to do that, you're not limited to anything else. It's like, you have so many options that if you feel like you don't have enough time to devote because of life, then just do it for yourself. And if you want to make a living doing it, then analyze your time, like Dan was saying earlier, and figure out what you do in the day that you can get rid of. What is something that you do that you waste time with? Do you watch videos on YouTube for too long? Do you link them back to back? Do you watch Facebook, like scroll through the updates? Cut all internet out and fill that time with working at least an hour a day on something to better yourself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has an angle they can use to start building an audience and start doing this and get around that initial hump. Like, everybody. Like, if you're older and you have like kids and stuff and a mortgage and you're just worried about time and pressure, you can turn that into a story that people will be interested in following, because that turns you into a character that they can relate to.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's crazy. You've got all this stuff going on, but you're still pursuing this thing you want to do. I should tune in and watch that. Like, you can definitely spin that in a way that people are going to relate to, and you should, because you want, that's all part of this industry. It's not just your portfolio anymore. There's so much more to it.
Yeah.
So, like, one of my other favorite things is the Louis C.K. thing. He's what, like, late 40s?
Yeah.
He just decided he always had wanted to get into, like, ever since he was a kid and he saw Jaws, he had always wanted to know how to like have a boat and maintain it and like take care of it and like read sea charts and like do all that stuff, which is crazy hard to learn. There's so much that goes into that. And he just decided to do it, and he fucked up tons of times along the way. You can go listen to his stories about it, all the mistakes he made. But, like, he just decided to do it because he always wanted to do it. And, it's once you take the focus off of art and you look at any other thing you want to get better at, age doesn't matter anymore. People only get weird about it when it's like in a social thing because they feel like the younger people make them irrelevant. Literally any other field besides art, age doesn't matter, which means that in art, it also doesn't matter. We just think it does because we want to talk ourselves out of doing it.
And also, it's like a lot of the younger artists, it's like they use that as like a thing, as like a quality thing where they go, I am this young, isn't that impressive? Wow. And it's like, it would have been nice to do that when you were younger, to realize
Sure.
that this is something you want to do. Like, that's a, fortunate thing to have. Like, you're like, okay, I know what I want to be. But
Right.
even if you don't know what you want to be, it's like there are so many people in life who don't recognize the thing that they aspire to become until later. Like, and then they actually go after it. Like, they go back to school. They go and they, like, try all this new stuff. Like, they're like, okay, I know I'm not limited. Like, I have these options still. I can do this. And even when it's hard, like, it should be hard. When people have it easy, then it's really not worth doing. You don't get as much out of it. You have to, like, have that determination. And I think that can be something that you leverage in yourself, of being like, against the odds, as much as I believe you're supposed to be this, I'm still going to try and do this for myself at the age I'm at. Like,
Right.
and do it in spite of all those things. And don't use it as, don't think about it like, a problem. Think about it like this thing that you can use, like Dan was saying. Like when I did Crimson Daggers a while ago, which was a daily live stream where I studied and worked to just get better every day. Like I did all these focused things. It's like I did that with the angle of saying, like, get better with me, like, work hard with me. Like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not a professional artist. It's like, just work hard and we can do it together and bring everybody up. Like, if you want to say, like, I'm an older guy and I'm working hard every day. I do this every day. Like, you can have a Twitch stream and use it as motivation. Get a group of people around you. Nobody's going to care that you're older. It might inspire older people to try and do something. Like, you never know what effect you'll have. But if you sit there with it and you just talk about it like this, you're watching this stream right now. You don't have to be doing that. You could be doing the other thing you want to do. And you're limiting yourself. It's like, and you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. People work their whole lives at jobs that they hate, and they spend infinite hours there, and they're willing to do that for the paycheck. And it's like, if you could just take a focused couple of years to work on yourself and devote that same amount of time in some way, some little small way, into doing something for yourself, you're going to infinitely improve your life. And it's only going to take that, that short span of time can change everything for you. And it's like, but we're willing to do so many other things that waste it. It's like we're willing to just sit on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and we don't even think about it.
An hour a day adds up so fast. It can make such a crazy difference if you just force yourself to do the hour a day. And if you're having a hard time starting, what I used to do in the beginning, I still do occasionally if I have a job I don't want to finish, is do the bargaining thing where you go like, okay, I have a podcast I listen to regularly, and they put issues out pretty regularly. So I tell myself, if I have busy work I got to do, I'm going to put that podcast on. It's about 2 hours long always, and I'm going to do my busy work while I listen to it. Because that's not something I can watch and get distracted by. It's not a video. I'll put that on. I'll force myself for those 2 hours. I have something to distract me from how much I hate doing this particular job. And I will just do that job and tune out and listen to the podcast and have a good time. And then when it's over, hey, my work's done. And I did it. I got through it.
Yeah, it's like listening to something while you're jogging or whatever.
Yeah, or listen to this. You've already seen, Dave paint the thing. You put on some stuff you've watched or listened to a documentary or put on a podcast, and find a way to bargain yourself into getting the work done, because you can get the work done. It takes more effort for some people than others. That's totally fine. But do you want to take more questions? We're at 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we should wrap up soon.
Okay. We've had this one a few times. We had a question about what we think of the new Power Rangers a few times.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that then. Neither of us are big fans of it.
No,
Um,
it's two things. It's number one, it's art by committee. It's a bunch of people that all said it should look like this, and this because these are popular. Throw them in a blender, mix them together.
yeah,
That's visually, it's art by committee. The other thing is that it's afraid of its roots. It's
yeah.
not
It's
embracing.
ashamed of them.
It's ashamed of them. Whereas Marvel came around and showed everybody that you can completely embrace your roots and just make the characters look like the characters and do stories that are from the comics. There are still movie companies that have the very 90s, early 2000s mindset of this is a little kid's thing, so inherently it's not worth as much. We have to make it more serious and cooler for adults. Like, it's ashamed of its roots. It doesn't want to be seen as campy. It doesn't want to be seen as maybe a little bit comedic. It doesn't want to be seen as a kid's thing. It wants to be the race car Dave was talking about earlier. It wants to be these are sports cars. Look at these. Look at this. Look at this cool, sick alien. Isn't this twisted? This is the darkest Power Rangers you've ever seen. What a twist on it.
It's
Like,
that whole thing of like where we don't want to be Power Rangers. Like, what's cooler than Power Rangers? Iron Man's cooler than Power Rangers. Let's make him look like Iron Man.
yeah.
It's
And they
like
don't
just
understand
be
that
cool. Like, just understand that Power Rangers is cool and figure out why it's cool.
it's the inherent contradiction of Hollywood that they have been doing since the 90s that makes no sense of this brand has enough fans to merit making a movie. So let's make the movie. But then when they make the movie, they change all the stuff that the fans who caused them to make the movie liked in the first place. So then the fans end up hating the movie and then they don't make a sequel. So
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
if something's popular, it's already popular, and that's the thing that Marvel realized, and that's why they're blowing up now. Is they're not running away from their roots; they're embracing them. They understand that it already works. The only reason the movies exist is because fans already like it, so you don't have to change it. All these other companies, from Ninja Turtles to everything else, is still doing that thing, and that's why I'm so glad the new Turtles movie, even though you worked on it, and I love the designs you did for it, glad it's kind of bombing at the box office because
Yeah.
like this whole trend of movies that just like shit on the source material should go away. Like we've seen the opposite end of the argument with Marvel now and it's been proven to not work, so it should go away. Like I don't want to see Lizard Woman Alien Rita Repulsa. I want to see Rita Repulsa. I want to see Goldar with a high budget. I want to see the coolest gold armor on a blue cat I've ever seen. Like I don't care about this. I don't want to see RoboCop with a tactical black military armor suit. Like I want to see RoboCop.
Yeah. I think Elu just got into something.
Uh-uh.
What are you calling the Aiden saga? I don't know. The
Calling it
Aiden saga?
Calling it Aiden Gaiden.
Aiden.
Calling it Aiden Gaiden.
Yeah. Aiden Gaiden. Yeah. Well,
Want to take one? Call it.
sure. Hold on, I gotta mute my mic so I can
Sure.
help with the Elu problem. Elu's a puppy, by the way.
Mm-mm-mm.
You're good, Dan. You can go.
I'm
Talk.
looking for a question to wrap this up on. Regarding the question about Dave's brushes in the Bog Witch tutorial, he uses a couple of them more often than the others. He uses them all, but some of them definitely get used more often. I didn't want to end on that one because it's a simpler answer. Um, okay, we'll wrap this up because it ties into that. So is that similar to what could be said about X-Men, seeing as it's not Marvel directly doing it? Uh, Basically, the thing with X-Men, it's not about the fact that Marvel has it or doesn't have it. It's the fact that they're not making movies about the X-Men that are rooted in the comics. They've made their new version of the X-Men, and they don't want to deviate from. That's the thing is like the movies aren't the X-Men. If you've ever read the comics, they got the characters wrong, the personalities are wrong. Wolverine's not a main character. He's supposed to be a 5 foot guy with like a Napoleonic complex who's rude and weird. He doesn't understand people. He's not supposed to be handsome Hugh Jackman who cries and is in love with people and is empathetic. Like they've made their own characters that look like the X-Men. They're not actually the X-Men. They've made their own characters that work well with focus groups and target audiences. And they've made a movie series out of it. And the weird thing that they've done is instead of being willing to reboot stuff, even when they gave themselves the opportunity to do it with Days of Future Past, where they could rewrite the timeline and change the characters, they're still so beholden to those original movies they made that they're not willing to do it. They're going to stick to their version of Wolverine. They're going to stick to their version of Cyclops. They're going to stick to their version of the Phoenix that isn't actually the Phoenix. It's this weird new thing. And then the whole thing falls apart. Because fans of the X-Men don't want to see tight black leather suits on people that run around like a special ops military unit fighting stuff. They want to see the X-Men. They want to see a team having fun. It's the reason why everybody loved seeing Colossus in Deadpool so much. Because he looked like Colossus from the comics, and more importantly, he acted like the character Colossus. He was a big softy. He was very sensitive. He was like ashamed of seeing a woman's naked body because he's such like a sheltered guy and he's so polite. It was the character of Colossus, and juxtaposing that against something else makes it funny. When you take all the character out of them, and it's just people that look like the drawings on the page with none of the personality, who the fuck cares? You watch a movie like X2, and Colossus is just a guy that turns silver. There's no character there. So who cares? You can't care if there's no character.
Yeah.
But anyway, your thoughts?
The X-Men, I'm surprised that the X-Men was what it was. It's like, it's still, I mean, well, it's veered away from it, but like for the longest time, all the X-Men was like the same thing that everybody did in the early 2000s, where they all mimicked the Matrix designs. Like everything had to be tight black and leather. Like in everything that was even remotely like hero, superhero, fantastic-y, sci-fi-y kind of feeling, like it was all those leather suits. And I hated that. I hated in the Matrix when they all walked into the room, in the, you know, it's like the first one, I get it, they have sunglasses, whatever. But like in the second one, when they go in and it's like the regular Matrix times 10, where like everybody's in the same room in the same trench coats, wearing the same sunglasses, and the cringe levels are just like extremely high. Like if I walked into a room and there was like 15 people in sunglasses and trench coats.
That scene in Matrix Reloaded is the single moment that series fell apart. You cannot save it. When they walk into a room in the beginning of that movie and there's 20 people dressed up like Neo. No coming back from that.
Yeah, it was like, do you like Neo? About 20 of them. About 20 Neos.
But again,
yeah.
That's the thing, is that I'd love to see an X-Men movie where they're actually the X-Men and the characters act like the characters, and it'd be great. I don't want to see weird, cool, focus-tested Sentinels. I want to see Sentinels that have dumb robot voices and fight X-Men, because I like the movie. I mean, I like the show, I like the comics, so the movie should be like those. They shouldn't be a weird new thing. 2 plugs to end on. Yes, Dave Lean, Comic Book Girl 19. She's a friend of ours. She's great. She has an awesome Vimeo series about the X-Men called Ultimate History X-Men, or Epic History X-Men. Sorry, I'm confusing it with her Game of Thrones thing. Epic History X-Men. Go check it out. It's really cheap. It's awesome. The first 2 are on YouTube. They're huge documentaries about the X-Men and where they started and all this history about them and character stuff, and really great. Go check them out. She's awesome. Second plug. Dave did a 5-hour tutorial about an eyeball night.
Yeah, I did
$5.
I did a traditional inks and markers approach to doing concept art for this eyeball night. That's kind of like a cross between Castlevania and Dark Souls, like boss design. And I put it up online. It's 5 hours long. It's full commentary. It's only $5, so if you want to grab that. I also have a couple other ones up that are, one's more focused on digital painting, the other one's more of like a comic book style. So if you're interested in any of that, you can scroll below the video and there should be a link down there. If not, you can go to daverapoza.com and then click the tutorials link in the top, and yeah, you'll see it there. But thanks so much for hanging out. We really appreciate all your comments and, you know, getting through all our cringe stories, because we know that that was pretty terrible.
We're in the process of trying to look into getting partnered here on Twitch so we can do more emotes and community stuff and have people like follow easier and, you know, just do more cool stuff for everybody. So we're figuring that out. It should be coming soon. In the meantime, if you want to like follow, it'll tell you when we go live, or you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at DanielWarren86. Dave is at
Dave Rapoza. Just Dave Rapoza on Instagram, on Twitter, and yeah, we're doing this pretty regularly now, so just come and hang out whenever. And if you have any questions, bring them to the chat, and we'll definitely get to them if we can. But yeah, thanks so much to all of you. Looking forward to streaming more.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
And hello, YouTube. Hello. What? Ow, 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 ow. I was a straight man, but I'm thinking about dicks, and I like my breasts because they're not women's. They're men's breasts. They're big as fuck. They're yellow and a little bit sick. Have a good night.
720p. YouTube is the site for me.